in their defense, though, too, they tried something really hard, which is changing the world to have everybody be democracy.
Yeah.
And that idea is really difficult to do. And then they had George Bush, his administration, trying to execute it. And I feel like if somebody's better, if his dad was trying to execute it, somebody smarter, they may have actually had a shot.
As soon as I do this, I'll be watching Game of Thrones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ari Shaffir Skeptic Tank. I'm Ari Shaffir. Today we have Hormoz Rashidi. Oh, first, I got the Comedy Store. This Thursday, I'm playing the Comedy Store, the main room. My own show. Doing my hour, which is like 70 minutes. $10. Only $10 if you want to come. 9 o'clock in the main room on Thursday. Get tickets at arithegreat.com. Or you can also get tickets for Seattle on Tuesday. I'm doing the Crocodile at, I think, 8 o'clock. Get tickets to that at arithegreat.com as well. And you can also get tickets for Ari Shaffir and Friends Take Stampede. We're going to Calgary, you guys, and I'm bringing with me some friends. We're going to do a show. We're going to have some fun. We're going to get drunk. We're going to see what Stampede is all about. Never seen it before. The way I describe it, from what I understand, white trash Mardi Gras for Canadians. And I'm bringing with me some friends. Matt Edgar. You might know him from doing a mushroom story with me on my storyteller show. He's also been on this podcast a few times. Kathleen McGee, also been on this podcast a few times. Tits McGee, a native Albertan. Also, Ryan O'Neill from Danish and O'Neill, also been on this podcast a few times. Oh, I guess it's all people who have been on this podcast. And the one and only Mr. Bert Kreischer is in now. He's doing it, you guys. He's coming with me. What a better place to be with a drinker on the level of Bert Kreischer than Stampede. I told everybody, last one to see a venereal disease, to see it get transmitted to someone, loses. Today's episode is all about the Middle East. I invited my friend Hormoz Rashidi. He is kind of a scholar on the subject. He's also, you can tell from his name, I don't know, one of them. He's from over there somewhere. I don't know. We talked about it. I forgot. I did this at my bungalow that I was staying in when I was taping my show a few months ago. So now it's time for it to come out. I wish there was another uprising or something, or we went to war with somebody in the meantime, so this would be more relevant, but it's not. I mean, it's still pretty relevant. We're still there. By the way, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to download Game of Thrones, and I'm going to watch it. Game of Thrones perfectly illustrates a lot of what U.S. imperialism is all about. You look at that show, or the books, whatever, if you're smart, and it just becomes obvious why we're in these countries. It's just about money interests. It's just about alliances. It just really makes it all real clear about what we're doing in all these other countries. So anyway, Hormoz came in and talked to me all about the Middle East. We had a long drive back from somewhere once. I think San Diego. I think he came and opened for me in San Diego in La Jolla. And on the way back, when we all got high, and he just started talking about everything. I just let him go, and he just sort of explained everything in the Middle East, like how the different countries are. I mean, the way we view all the Arab countries in the Middle East, and I call them all Arab, even though they're not all Arab, whatever. I love that, just being able to slough off people like, I'm not an Arab, with a whatever. They're not all the same. They're different countries with different histories. Lumping them all in is kind of like someone else holding Canada responsible for the way America acts. Like, you're a white Northern American. Anyway, so he came in and kind of broke down the whole situation in the Middle East right now. Definitely didn't solve anything, but it's pretty fun discussion. I'm home right now, at my parents' house for Father's Day. Went to see my dad. My cousin came over. We watched the NBA final game together with my nephew. Man, fun times. Anyway, let's start the episode. This episode is brought to you, by the way, by Casper. Casper has mattresses, has sheets, has all sorts of stuff. I have used them. They are wonderful. Very comfortable mattresses. There's one problem with it. By the way, go to casper.com/Ari or use the promo code Ari, or both, I guess. I don't know. And get $50 towards any mattress you purchase. The only problem with their mattresses, I have had sex on them. And when you have sex on a Casper mattress, and it's with someone you don't know very well, and when you finish having sex, you're full of regret. The issue with doing it on a Casper mattress is that they're comfortable, and the woman is in no mood to leave. So you're filled with just self-disgust, just like, ugh, what am I still doing here? And you're a good enough person that you can't be like, get the fuck out. So Casper's made it difficult. My old bed, which was a rock and 2 pieces of wood, women never stayed. They said this isn't fun at all. But the two technologies, the hybrid of latex foam and memory foam on the Casper mattress, makes horrible, annoying women that you got drunk and made mistakes with a real problem. So use Casper if you have a wife or a girlfriend or you are celibate in any way. Don't use Casper if you're looking for girls not to spend the night. It's too comfortable, everybody. $500 for a twin-size mattress, $950 for a king-size mattress. Comparing that to industry averages, that's an outstanding price point. Why not you guys actually compare it? You see for yourself if it's an outstanding price point. So anyway, Casper.com/Ari. Use the promo code Ari. And it is. I've slept on them. They're very comfortable mattresses. And the sheets and stuff. I guess I'm not promoting that, but I guess I will. Why is that not in here? Anyway, they sell sheets and bedding, and they're real soft and comfortable. And warm. Let's start the episode. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go in with a birthday song by Saddam Hussein's soldiers. A happy birthday to Saddam. Whatever happened to him? You know what I really didn't like with the Middle East? When they liberated Libya, liberated it, and then they killed him. They killed Gaddafi, and I was like, why not just try him? It just seems like, I guess we get to this in this episode, where you can't put our standards of justice on a people that have no thought of that, no history of like, let's have a trial by jury. They just don't. That's just not in their history, and we're just forcing this history. All right, let's just start the episode, ladies and gentlemen. Ari Shaffir Skeptic Tank, episode 269, the Middle East with Hormoz Rashidi. I know I'm forgetting shit in this intro. There was definitely something I wanted to talk about. Fucking cheap ass NBA finals. Goddamn cheap ass. You know they shouldn't have taken game 5. Should have been over in 5. Fucking suspend a guy for talking trash in the last 2 minutes of a blowout. Bullshit. That's bullshit. Oh, he swung at his balls. Nah. LeBron James was standing over him. Bullshit. You stand over a guy. You walk over a grown man, expect him not to get up and do something to you.
اخر النفس نطلب الدنيا لحد ما تقول بس فوت بي
Politicians.
Yeah, we're mostly happy.
Yeah.
So
I
why
have a
take a
flat
chance
screen
of jail?
TV,
Yeah.
You know,
Where it's like, shit's wrong. It's
Yeah.
wrong, but like not wrong enough to like risk jail time.
no, not
Right,
at
when you
all.
have your flat screen TV.
I mean, the people who are being oppressed are mostly in the third world.
Yeah.
We get to feed off of
Or
their
like
suffering.
we were just talking about Youssef, where it's like the people in San Francisco are like, you know, that's mansplaining, or that's misogynist, or that's like a gender normative word, and it's like gender normative. Man, we have it pretty good here.
Yeah, yeah.
If that's your
People
issue.
who are hungry aren't thinking of any of these terms.
Yeah.
People who have bombs falling aren't thinking about,
Yeah.
men in this
That's great. You just don't have that luxury.
No, yeah. That's how good we have it here.
Yeah. So my lawyer was like, don't call for anyone specific to die. Don't say you killed this person.
Right.
But that is how I feel. Like, if you want to make change, voting is not the way, especially with business and politics. They won't allow you to change it. No regime I've seen across the world has ever just given back power on their own.
I mean, there's slow change through on the edges,
Slow
like
change.
I mean, there was a civil war to end slavery, right? So that was
a lot
war.
of stuff, really.
Yeah, but then it took 100 years, and I think this LBJ movie is about to come out that's going to show that he had to like really bully people into voting for black people to have the right to vote.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Nobody
so-
wants to do that.
Yeah, so change through the process is possible. It's not going to change the system.
Yeah.
It's not going to change the capitalist system or the republic.
Yeah.
35
Already,
states
yeah.
before.
Yeah. And it's
So you're
all in
saying
the periphery.
Gay marriage is 30% more legal than it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's periphery. So it's social shit here or
Yeah.
there.
The major like two party system is
yeah.
always going to be in place, which is what the corporate
They want that. We only have
because
to
it's so
buy out
easy to
two
control.
people.
Yeah.
If we buy out both of those people, we're good.
Exactly.
In a parliament system, like, we can't control all of them.
Exactly. And then they can form coalition governments and stuff. That's the thing. People are disenfranchised here by the system of government, and they're what's the word? They don't believe their vote matters.
Yeah.
So they don't vote,
They don't
and that
vote.
all feeds into what the corporate elite want.
Yeah,
And
what
I
are we
believe
at, like
Noam Chomsky explains
47%?
everything. in
47%
Understanding Power.
voting? No?
I think in Obama's elections it was like 51.
It went up.
But in the off presidential elections it's down to like 40, I think.
Wow.
It's really low. Nobody
For
votes
senators
when
and
it's not
shit.
for president. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Republicans always do so good in the off presidential
Only old
elections.
people
Yeah,
vote.
Only old people vote,
old
and
people
the
are
Republicans vote.
Right.
You know, people who really care about their money.
Yeah, I started to see, like, Tea Party, the Occupy movement. I'm like, they're all the same thing. They're people who don't feel like they're being heard at
Yeah.
all. It's not even like, I want my thing done. It's like, we're not even being heard.
Right.
We're our vote doesn't go to anything. Not we win or lose, but, like, it doesn't get anything done.
Yeah.
They just continue to do
Just
what
a
they
rigged
want.
system, pretty
Yeah.
much.
The
And-
NSA spying on everybody and then just going, oh, we got to stop that. And now they have more power than they did before.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? So
Yeah.
our outrage means nothing?
Yeah. That was illegal. It's still illegal, but they were able to do it.
We
What?
get mad about them fucking spying on our web searches, and then they go, no, don't do that, or whatever the free trade thing was online, and then and they're like, no, and they're like, all right, and then like, is somebody nobody looking? Like 5 minutes later, they'll put it back in again.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
No, but I mean, then on the other hand, I just had I had surgery on
Yeah, for sure.
on my arm and on my head that was paid for through
Yeah.
Obamacare.
Yeah.
And so on the periphery, Obama was able to take a messed up system where I wouldn't have had.
Oh, you got the Obamacare, huh?
Yeah, I'm covered through Covered California, which is like part
How
of
much do you pay?
Obamacare. I ended up paying like nothing for my surgery.
How much you pay a year?
I don't know. I think because I'm making minimum wage at the
How much do you
comedy
make?
store.
That's all. That's your only job, store.
Yeah. So because I make nothing, so far I haven't paid anything.
Okay.
But so go Obama. But a more effective. I mean, that's better than the old system, which was emergency rooms and no surgeries for me.
Right.
A better system would have been a single payer system, which the majority of people want, but they're not going to get.
What is a
because-
single payer system? What does that mean?
Single-payer system is the government becomes the people, the only people who take care of healthcare. You can purchase better healthcare through a private party, but it's a public
kind of like
program.
private schools and public schools.
Yeah. Everybody gets public school. You can pay extra if you want to go to a private school. So everybody would then, it's what like Canada has, it's what Europe has.
Yeah.
Everybody would be covered, and because everybody's covered under one person, that person can control costs and keep costs lower. So that
and you have people who work, doctors who are just like, I work for the government.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the less prestigious stuff. All the best doctors would probably still work private, and you could still go to them, but you would have other doctors who would be willing to. It might be a way that they might be able to get less,
like public defendants.
Yeah,
in
kind
court,
of like that. Yeah,
where it's like
to
if they were
build up their
amazing,
name,
they could
and maybe they just want to help people for a few years.
Right. And
But
learn the craft too, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say
and I mean, that would be a
Canada's
more
terrible.
efficient
The
system.
wait lines are forever, and it's like, sort of, but yeah, sort of. The wait's long. Still not worth 3 times more expensive coverage.
They have better results. For the richest people, of course, it's better to be an American and have good health care. But for the poorest people, the results are just better.
But if you're richer, you can just still afford the good health care.
Yeah.
Like the coverage I was getting for mental health when I was going through my worst depressions, every good therapist was like, oh, no, I don't take insurance. And I was so poor. I was like, well, I can't afford all this money. So it's just like, I just can't get mental health coverage.
Right.
But then Rogan, who's in a different like economic area than me, was like, I'll just pay for it for you. But people like that can get proper coverage.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I will pay for it. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's good enough for people, but not good enough for me.
Yeah.
Private school is good enough for my kids. Public school is good enough for your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think governments should be results oriented.
Yeah.
And I think you could get better results with this for the same amount of money if you had a single payer system.
I just know Weinbach. Oh, that's single payer. Single payer means he'll pay the doctors. Weinbach, he's like, I went from not being able to afford insurance to being forced to buy this insurance that I can't afford. So now I'm really not getting by anymore.
Yeah, I've heard some people in the middle, especially comedians, because it's like a lot of them are poor and get free health insurance. But then as soon as you get into that middle group where you're making
a commercial a year,
yeah, exactly,
23
then
grand.
Suddenly you're in this different group, and they expect you to get health insurance. And I don't know if that's the best way to do it either. I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, it's not the best system. Like, I benefited on the periphery from them improving the system slightly, but a better system would be if everybody paid in to it as part of their taxes and everybody was covered.
Yeah.
And then that way, Brent wouldn't have to pay extra because it would already have been part of what he's paying already in taxes. And people who say, oh, we'd have to increase taxes so much, blah, blah, blah. We already pay so much for this military stuff.
Yeah.
If we
also, if we do pay for insurance now, we pay, I think, 3 times more than the next country, and we get the 17th best coverage.
Yeah, it's insane.
But so if we do pay for it now, you can take, most people take, and this isn't like the best coverage, this is just okay coverage. What my mom got was just okay coverage.
Yeah.
But she had to, because she had kids, and it's fucking, she had to.
Yeah, or you stay at your job because you have to stay at that job that has good coverage.
But, like, you take that same money you're spending on insurance, and you put that towards taxes.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you're losing more money.
Less, though, so. You put less money in taxes and you get better results.
Yeah.
And then it would be another way that good businesses that want to attract really good
they
people
could have better
would
insurance.
have better insurance. They'd say, hey, and it wouldn't cost them as much as getting that better insurance from the first place because you would already have a base level insurance that was covered by the government, and it would just be like MRIs and things like that
We'll
you'd have
cover
to go
those
through.
for you.
Yeah, you might have to go through some hoops if you had regular, public insurance. Private insurance gets you through those faster.
Why can't they get it done?
Because right now, the current system, the insurance companies they're private insurance companies, but have forced people to be with them.
Oh, right.
So instead of it being one public insurance that's run by the government, it's a bunch of smaller ones.
So it wasn't working already, and they go, now you guys just
have way more.
We'll lower the cost a little bit, or we'll pay for some of the poor guys.
Yeah.
But now everyone has
Everybody
to pay.
has to go
for this system that wasn't working.
Yeah. So it's kind of like car
hilarious.
insurance. Like, you have to get car insurance.
Wait, so that's
so Geico and all these people.
So why couldn't they get it done with single payer?
Because the government is controlled by a two-party, both corporate parties system.
Both supported by these big businesses, insurance companies in general.
They lobby so many millions and millions and millions of dollars and hire former senators and former congressmen
To go talk to those guys?
talk to those guys and say, hey,
What?
pass it like this, and it's just it's a corrupt system. That's why when we're talking about your
Even if guys aren't fully on the take, they're still like being told, no, you haven't read the whole bill. Trust me, this is better for Americans. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, Obama even said he was for single payer, but then he was like, it wasn't politically feasible. And that's just a nice way of saying our government is controlled by corporations. That's the biggest disappointment I had with Obama, because I canvassed for him. I like really believed in him and everything.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I still love him in a deeper way that I can't even explain, because he did a lot for me, and I just was the first politician that I really believed in. So it's hard to give that up. But the biggest disappointment I had with him was he said that in the healthcare negotiations, C-SPAN's cameras were going to be in there to show who's fighting for the insurance companies and who's fighting for the people. And then he went back on that because nobody in Congress wanted to be overheard arguing against single payer, because the arguments against single payer are all for bureaucratic costs. Because that's what the insurance companies, it's a middleman that just adds bureaucratic costs.
Bureaucratic costs. They're for what?
The private insurance companies just add on a bureaucratic cost. They're a middleman that doesn't actually give you any health insurance.
Oh, they just get you to go to the doctor.
They don't train doctors. They don't put doctors and nurses into a good staff that knows how to cure things. They're just somebody in the middle who you talk to, who collects some of your money. They're like the middleman in the scheme. So it's like in other countries have gotten rid of the middleman and say, hey, the government will just keep it as one person and we'll keep the costs down. And have the bureaucracy be as small as possible.
There'll be a nonprofit. We'll pay the employees who do it, but then we won't make any profits off it.
And there'll be no incentive to charge a sick person more money, because you're not making money off sick people. They're making money off sick people right now. And
wow.
It's
they want it to happen.
Yeah.
Wow, that's hilarious.
If everybody got healthy, insurance companies would be fucked. They need people to be sick.
There's apartment brokers in New York. They make you go through them. Or you can go no fee rentals, but those are the shittiest possible rentals. They just cornered the market with these landlords and say, well, and then they charge you 2 months rent to get a place. Yeah, and it's like you're just getting the listings. They're just getting the West Side rental listings, but they're the only ones who have access to it.
You can't sign up for it yourself?
There's other little ones that like do they do it for you. RDNY, I think, is one, but it's not everything. It's not everything.
Yeah, when I lived in New York, I found my place off Craigslist, and it was deep in Flatbush.
But did you live alone?
No, it was with a roommate.
You're getting it from a roommate, and
it
not
was
from a landlord.
It was from a roommate.
Yeah.
And it was
That's the only way.
far, so far. When it snowed, I wouldn't be able to ride the subway. The subway station would get shut down sometimes.
Oh no!
And then it'd be like impossible to get to like any mics and stuff.
You're just fucked.
Yeah.
When did you live there?
I lived there until like November of 2011 for like almost 2 years.
When your wife left you under horrible circumstances?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, we lived in New York together. She went to NYU Law, and I lived in the Village there, which was the dopest. And then
it is the East Village and West Village.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right there on Mercer and Bleecker.
Okay,
it was
that's
like
West
the best
Village.
location.
It's a lot
so
at
nice.
night.
Yeah.
A lot of drunks.
Yeah, but it's like fun.
Yeah.
And I loved Washington Square Park. Is that what it's called? Yeah. I love that park. But then when we split, I moved to Flatbush because it's the only place I could afford. And I lived there for a year before just running out of my money and being like, all right, I'll move back home to Cali.
Dude, somebody in Washington Square Park, I was out, I wanted weed, so you can't go anywhere, And nope, you can't ask your friends. Most of them don't have weed on them. So you walk by there and fucking some guys like weed, and it's like, all right, there's enough to roll a joint.
You didn't know a number to call? There's those numbers.
Here's the problem. I never really got into it because every time I tried, I brought a bunch of weed from LA, and so I didn't really get started. Like, I
you
need
just
to find
fly
this
with
right
weed.
service.
See, that's crazy to me. I would never.
Why?
I always get my bag searched.
So what? They're not looking for that. I've had them find weed on. I guess you're a different look than me.
But I'm Hormoz Rashidi though.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
If it was Ari Rashidi, it might be different too.
That's how I feel about those USO shows. I'm like, I can't go to this country. I'm not with Ari Shaffir is my name.
Right.
It's just, if I get separated, I'm in a lot of trouble.
Just don't get separated. I would go I would go so hard to those USO shows. I bet.
If it's the all stay on base ones, yeah. But I like to explore.
Yeah, it's true. And in some of those countries, you can't go exploring.
You can't. Thailand, I'm like, see you guys later. I'm gonna walk the streets. I might get robbed, might not. See ya.
Yeah.
But it's just robbed. I'm not going to be made a martyr of.
Yeah.
Wait, so I forgot what we were saying.
I don't know. I remember we were talking about the HuffPost thing.
Oh yeah.
And how if you want real change, you have to kill some politicians, right? And
The guy who asked me, he's like, "Do you vote? Do you do political comedy?" He's like, "Not really."
and it's like, yeah, if you want a revolution,
Yeah.
if you actually want to revolt, but that's not change. I mean, changing a law is change.
Yeah.
Like, there is change when gay people were allowed to marry in those other 15
I mean, like
states.
getting government.
But if you want to change the structure of the government,
yes.
you either need to have a constitutional convention where you have to get like 3/4 of people who are already corporate shills
Yeah.
to then vote against their interests.
I know, they'll never gonna do it.
It'll never happen. It doesn't make
So
it.
then the only way,
So the only real way, the only real like possible way is through revolution, and that'll never happen because life's great in America.
I don't know, man. It's already started. If you ask me, that guy who shoot up the TSA.
There's crazies.
It's not. That guy wasn't crazy. The guy who lit himself on fire in the National Mall.
That's
These
crazy.
people have
These are
no
crazy.
history of mental illness until they just feel disillusioned by their government. How is it different than that guy in Tibet who lit himself on fire?
Well, because in Tibet at the time, I think China was like not letting these religious people practice their religious stuff, and that's religious craziness that can drive somebody to do that. I think
It's
even if
just
they don't have
fervor.
a
It's just
even if they
fervor.
don't have a history of it, there was some craziness going on already. I think the real reason that it's not going to have a revolution actually here, or is because
Why?
the global system, I feel like, is set up so that we're a consumer society that consumes mainly Chinese and Eastern goods, and then we borrow money from Eastern countries like China and Japan to consume those goods and then send the money back to those countries. And it's like a cycle.
Yeah. Like
And
what
I
we have
think-
with the farm.
What's that?
Like what we have with the farm. We'll give you money, you give us corn. That'll be. You can buy tractors with that.
Yeah, and but we'll give you money to not grow corn.
To make GI Joes.
So basically,
not grow corn, right.
So basically, we buy Chinese goods that are made by sweatshop people with money that they lend us. So they're going to
really?
keep lending us money. We owe China a whole bunch of money. We're in debt to China, and we have a trade deficit to China.
Which means we're losing more.
Which means we're losing. We buy more stuff from China than we sell to China. Obviously, right? You don't hear
They don't
about
buy shit from us.
Chinese people buying shit from Americans. Why would they?
Yeah.
They make everything over there, and we buy it at Walmart and all these places. So people here are being exploited in that they don't have as good of manufacturing jobs as they used to. That could make them take care of their families the way they used to, but people are not exploited the way they have to be to revolt, which is the way people are being treated in China. The real fear is people in China are going to revolt because they're the ones who are being like treated so badly to make this shit and not make much money.
Yeah.
The rich in China are getting rich. The rich here are getting filthy rich. The poor here get to buy the cheap HD TVs and be pacified
Eat
by
McDonald's.
Yeah, eat McDonald's, drink beers, smoke weed that's going to be legal soon too,
Yeah.
and just watch TV on all your foreign-made stuff that's made in sweatshops.
Honestly, if you
And
were
it's
like
kind of a good life.
if you were like a king in the fucking Middle Ages,
You wouldn't
a
live as
king.
good as the poor person.
Nah,
here. Yeah,
right.
for real.
Wait, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
It's a crazy life. Yeah, everyone has fucking Walmart employees have iPhones for $600.
Everybody does.
And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You don't have enough money for this.
I see homeless people with iPhones.
I saw a homeless guy dancing I remember the first time with an iPod, the headphones in. He was dancing around, but then he did a spin, and it just wasn't plugged into anything. he just had the headphones.
Oh, homeless people are the best.
They're pretty cool.
They're so
Except for
funny.
touching. But
Yeah, I hate when they come around the store and like make everything gross.
Yeah.
But like when you just walk by them on the street, they're pretty fun.
Yeah.
I've got my couple homeless people that I care about. You know, I think you can't care about all of them, but you got
Yeah.
a couple that you're like, oh, I hope.
Hey,
you guys
Jonah, hey,
love-
Ben, here's a quarter. No, don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna I'll just throw it in. I'll throw it in the hat. I can see the lights moving around on that. It's a layer of them. Wait, by the way, that's why China lost Hong Kong for that same trade deficit shit. Whereas,
China gained Hong Kong.
no, back.
Yeah, from Great Britain.
No, but I'm saying how they lost in the first place.
How'd they lose it? Yeah.
Was the silk trade opened up. Britain was like, we want your silk. I'm sure it's like, yeah, sure, sell it to us. We'll sell it to you. And they're like, okay, but now, I mean, you got to take something from us. How about opium? Like, oh, no, we don't want opium. That's bad for our
And
people.
they forced them.
And they said, you need to take our opium. And said, we have no interest in it. Thank you anyway. If you still want silk, this is the price. We're not going to gouge you. Like, this is the price, like we said before. But we don't want your opium, man. So that's okay. Just pay us for the silk. And the Britons really wanted silk, so they're like, no, we got to give them something. We can't have a trade deficit. So they're like, take our fucking opium. And they pulled up warships outside Shanghai and just pointed at people. Pointed at the fucking government.
Opium wars, right?
Yeah, opium wars.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, not only are you fucking opening up and taking our opium, just so you know, we're taking Hong Kong for 100 years, 99 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So we're right here ready for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
It's crazy.
said no another time, and I think the Americans came and did the same shit.
That's why that is actually exactly why I never say no to opium.
What?
Whenever I get offered opium, I'm like, oh well, you know.
Have you ever taken opium?
I did it once in college, and it didn't. I think it was like bunk. I don't think it was like real shit. I would do it if I was like in the Middle East or something, and that was what they were doing. But
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fuck with like heroin out here.
Yeah.
Like somebody's like, it's opium, and then you find out you just smoked heroin. You're like, oh shit.
Oh, that's what I was going to say about Washington Square Park. I went to this guy. I was like, can I buy some weed?
Yeah.
Or he was like, weed. I was like, yeah, enough for a joint. You know, I'll roll a joint and smoke it. And so the guy's like, I was like, what do you got? He's like, this is whatever he made up. And he goes, smell that. And I smelled it. I see him put it behind his back and switch hands. I see it. But I wanted to be like, hey, dude, what you had me smell was also not good enough to buy. like, you don't have to switch that. It's already,
I'm surprised you couldn't find somebody.
No. So I
through the
just
comedy
didn't. I had my weed with me. I came back here enough times where I got going. And then when I needed in a pinch, it was like, fuck.
Yeah.
One or two guys was like, you holding? There's one guy I know, but never a full service.
Yeah.
And the service I did find, people were like, hey, use this, is good. I'm like, it's not good. It's shitty fucking New York weed, and it's one type.
Oh no. My service.
Brooklyn services are better.
No. When I was in the Village, my
Oh, really?
service was off the hook as far as the quality goes. I think it was Cali shit.
Oh.
But then he would give you 2 grams for $60.
Yeah, the 50 bags.
I was like, oh,
50 bags.
it was
No
50
relation to
if
weight.
If you bought 5 of them, you could get them at 50 a bag. But if you bought 1, it was 60. And
Well,
it was
that's Zen
good,
prices.
but
Yeah, their eighths are not eighths.
makes you not want to smoke weed. Makes you be like, this is fucking bad for my life. But out here, $20 an eighth is what I
No
get my
way.
shit from. Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna plug a place.
Yeah, 20 an eighth?
20. Well, I mean, they have $20 eighths and $25 eighths, and they go up to like $45 eighths. But I usually get about like a half ounce for $80 for my weed
the
shop.
28s are terrible, though, aren't they?
This is what you're smoking right now.
Oh.
Right? It's pretty
Smooth?
good. It's smooth. It's good. You can look at it. It looks dope. It's just usually it's either the best of their outdoor shit or like some indoor that they've had for a while that hasn't been selling. So they sell. But it's good weed. And I get like a half ounce for $80 a half ounce, which comes out to 20 an eighth.
Oh, I get
But
it.
you got to buy it at
Still
it's $25 an eighth or $30 an eighth. If
Zen
you buy
is
it at the
60. For the good stuff, for like Maui Wowie, they're 60. 55 or 60.
Yeah. I mean, you can get better weed than what Natural Remedies on Western has.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get a better price.
Natural remedies?
Natural Remedies, it's on Western, between Melrose and Santa Monica. Tell them Hormoz sent you. You won't get a discount or anything, but maybe they'll give me weed.
They'll give you a free paper.
No, they're their best price. They're already
20
crazy
and
busy.
8. I
And
remember when
I hope nobody goes.
When I had people go 40-gallon caps, you're like, wow, that's pretty great.
Yeah, this place I think has a $40 cap. But the shit on the left menu, which is the cheapest shit, is the shit that I almost always get, and it's great, and it comes out to 20 an eighth.
Damn.
Yeah, they do good work.
All right, so wait. So here's what we were talking about. So the Americans, we have this trade deficit to China right now, and they're the ones you're
Yeah.
saying they're going to revolt.
I'm saying that's the only real fear is if China has a revolution and says, hey, we don't want to get exploited. But I don't think that's going to happen either, because I think the Chinese are pretty good at running their people over with tanks and shit.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I
Wait,
feel
hold
like-
on. No revolt. That dude flew his plane into the IRS.
Sure, okay.
There's signs.
No,
people
I'm
are
not
getting.
saying-
All it
I'm not
takes is
saying
people to get
aren't
organized.
upset. I'm not saying people aren't upset. I'm not saying that there probably is a movement that's getting organized even.
There probably
I'm not
is.
part of it. I love America. I just want to point that
I
out.
do too,
real
but
quick.
there probably is.
You don't have to point it out as hardly as I do. Hormoz Rashidi loves America.
Yeah.
You know. But I just think that life's too good in America. Life is just too good.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's because I grew up in California and I've only lived in California and New York City and
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., all pretty good places to live. But I feel like life's pretty good.
Well, when people compare it to like So like, oh, if you don't like it so much, then what about, why don't you go to another country like fucking Mexico or China or something? You're like, oh no, what about Switzerland or Denmark or England or Canada? Like, why would you list all the worst possible countries as it's better than this?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Mexico seems pretty dope. You know, I feel like Mexico
past the border towns, maybe.
I mean, I could see myself living in Mexico for a lot of the year. It's just the political system is fucked up, and there's no good economy. But like, man, I bet if America could have taken over all of Baja Mexico, like all the way down to Tijuana, Rosarito, that's all nice areas. Why wouldn't they? You know, they just didn't want to fight the Spaniards more. At some point they were like, okay, this is all we need. You know, or else we would have taken it. We tried to take parts of Canada. Everybody shits on Canada, like we gave Canada away. Like, no, we tried to take that from the British too, but they fought us off.
Put their lines back.
Yeah, they fought us and we lost. And then we were like, okay, then the colonies stop here.
We'll stop the war. You get there.
Yeah.
You get there.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. In the Battle of 1812, which is the battle after the Revolution between the U.S. and Great Britain, when they attacked us, we attacked Canada. We didn't attack like them at where they attacked us.
Oh, like fucking
Canada was in play.
Like the fucking Game of Thrones when he started attacking the outskirts of the
Dude, I love Game of Thrones so much. Have you been watching it?
Yeah, this year I'm a couple episodes behind, but yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't think
I love that when he's
killed, but when she does,
who?
Khaleesi, when she dies, it's like really sad.
What?
I'm just kidding. if you like ruin something that bad, no. But that's why I said something absurd.
Yeah, all those things. They would attack the outskirts of the kings, and they're like, we're losing all these fucking money and all these people out there.
Yeah.
They keep running by us with that giant dog horse of theirs, killing my men, until eventually they had to call somebody to get them back, right?
Yeah.
That was Red Wedding.
Yeah.
That's how we went to Arabia.
Oh, man. Middle East is fucked.
Why?
Well, I mean, I think it was fucked because we switched from whale oil to oil, and then right at the end of World War II, when the U.S. was dominating the world, we discovered it there, and then we were like, okay, it's ours.
We want it.
Yeah, we want it. I mean, like, we might not want it to get cheap gas here, but we want to make sure we control its flow, you know?
Yeah.
So we care about that area, and then they... Like, I think it was a couple years ago, they found a huge lithium deposit in Afghanistan. So we're not leaving Afghanistan either, because all of our phones and future cars are made with lithium.
So you want to make
batteries.
sure we can get access to it?
Yeah.
That's why we don't get out.
I think because if we get out and it becomes chaos,
Yeah.
I think they wish that they could have it be with the dictators they had 10 years ago. But because they just want stability, because stability is good for global business and trade. And the more stability, the more money they make.
So that they want to make sure, like, hey, we've got presence here. We're going to calm it down.
Yeah.
Just having peacekeepers there for ourselves.
Ultimately, I think that's the goal. Yeah, is to have peacekeepers, and just I think like U.S. and China's relationship is really interesting because we're global trade partners and they finance us, but we're also like rivals in a way. Not the way we were with the Soviet Union, where it was direct conflict. There was a Cold War, but in that we don't want them to have access to that oil. Yeah, because that's the only check we really have on their economy is access to fossil fuels.
What do you mean check on an economy? Why would you want to check on an economy?
Well, I mean, like if China wanted to cash all of the money that we owe them, we could print our own money and hand it to them, and it would make the money worth less, so they would never do that, and it would cause everybody to suffer because
all our dollars would be worth less.
Everybody's dollar would be worth less.
That's
inflation
why Germany after World War One. The inflation was so bad it took them
probably
thousands of dollars to buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want that in America, but they also don't want all their money to be worthless because they
calling this favor, and by calling it in means now we get nothing.
Yeah. So China's not gonna do that anyway. But I don't even. I'm so high right now. I don't remember.
Stay with it.
What was I starting with?
Why we're in Afghanistan or something like that in terms of like.
So we want to control the oil supply of the Middle East so that countries like China.
So why do we want to
Brazil and India, other countries that are like emerging superpowers can't just grow without the U.S.'s influence.
Why? Why do we want that check on their economy? Why do we want that check on their economy?
Because we want our companies to be able to have control of different economies because it's good for American interests.
If,
They,
like,
they just
what do
they
you mean?
call
Like
it
it's-
national interest.
If Starbucks is everywhere, you mean? Things like that? Or no?
I think it's beyond like Starbucks. I think it's more like they want all the farms to have probably Monsanto and all the big American companies to be allowed in. They want to have trade agreements that allow us to exploit their resources instead of them using their resources to give poor people stuff. Like a lot of these countries that we oppose probably have bad. Like Chavez is probably a bad guy, but if you look, he opened up a lot of hospitals and shit with the oil money that used to go to, I think it was Shell, or one of those
so
oil
he kept
companies.
it for himself.
So I bet he kept some of it for himself, but a lot of it went to the Venezuelan people.
Yeah.
And so I think
That's what I mean for himself. For themselves.
yeah, for themselves versus the rich few who worked for Shell.
Yeah.
And
We're like, we're going to take this out of here. Thanks. We own this
Yeah.
land.
yeah, and let it go to the
To
rich
feed other people.
Resources come from those countries. Fine goods get made and sold back to the rich people in those countries, and all the money tends to flow to the richer countries.
Oh.
And I think that's why we're going to be in the Middle East forever, because we want to have control.
Is that why
being
we
the
went in there?
military over there that controls shit and keeps things peaceful
Yeah.
allows us, I think, a level of control economically and all over the world.
Is that why we went over the first of all, when I watched Game of Thrones and they go like, we have to have interest in this country so that we can like make money through it. Is that why we're in there in the first place? Like with like, I mean, I know there was like a bombing in 9/11 or whatever, but like, is that where you're just making up excuses to go in to get these trade routes?
I think if you look at what's the name of it, Project for a New American Century, which is like
Yeah.
this group that was Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz. I think it was like the Bushes, and they printed out this document. It was that was about a post-Cold War world, and they're saying for the first time America is the only superpower, and this is our opportunity to shape the world in the way that we want to, and they're saying like in order to do this and in order to get the government to be willing to do this, we need to have a Pearl Harbor style attack. That's why a lot of conspiracy theorist people say, look,
Wait, they said that?
they
What
said
do you mean?
that in this document they said in order to get the people want the
They're-
Pentagon budget to be cut. After the Cold War ended, people were like, why are we spending billions of dollars on weapons to fight the Soviet Union if we don't have to fight them anymore?
Yeah.
So let's cut the Pentagon budget. But the way our economy works, high-tech industry is funded through the Pentagon budget. Other countries like Japan actually have a branch of government that funnels money into high-tech industry because it develops jobs. Our jobs program is through the Pentagon system and through NASA, but mainly through the Pentagon system. So basically the Pentagon works on technology, hires engineers. Those engineers develop some weird technology that might be useful for the Pentagon. If it's not useful for the Pentagon, they then allow private companies to come in and take that technology and make, like they made lasers in the Pentagon, and then they made LASIK surgery possible because they developed lasers first.
Oh, the way all video cameras develop based on porn.
Exactly.
Because they're like,
Exactly.
like we
They're
need
like,
the high def.
I
but
need
you
to
guys can
see
use it
every
now, too.
labia lip.
Yeah.
You know?
But now if you guys want to use it for whatever, your child's bar mitzvah,
Yeah.
fine, go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, wait, so what were we just saying about that? Come on, Hormoz.
Labia lips.
No, but like, why do we need the money?
Fuck.
Come on,
It's
there's too
terrible.
intellectual conversation for being this high.
I know. I can't believe, and that's $20 an eighth weed right there. That's pretty good.
Going to Afghanistan. Oh, the Cheney, the document.
Oh, okay. Project for a New American Century.
Yeah.
Is this group that was like basically all the people who ran the Bush administration.
They got together.
They got
called it
together.
the Project for New American
Yeah,
Century.
they printed it. They wrote their names. They signed their names on it. It's not a secret.
Okay.
It's something they did.
Okay.
And basically, they said, now that Soviet Union's gone, we need to use this as an opportunity. And people didn't want to have Pentagon be so big because you're not fighting the Soviet Union anymore. So they said, this is an opportunity. We shouldn't cut the Pentagon budget. We should increase it.
Why
Because-
increase it?
Because they're like, this is our chance to use America's military might that's unsurpassed and be able to shape the world into the way we want. They're neocons, which means they thought that you could actually move into countries that have dictatorships you don't want and put in democracies.
Yeah.
They actually, part of their ideology was
Spread
actually
democracy
spread
to the
democracy.
world. Yeah, I've heard that.
That wasn't just complete bullshit after the Iraq War, even though they focused on it because they didn't find weapons of mass destruction. But in their documents before, they believed that America was so strong militarily that they could go in, kick out any bad guy, and establish democracy, and that people naturally would rather be under democracy, and it'll flourish. And they were wrong. Because in democracies, a lot of times, the ethnic majority that was being suppressed for hundreds of years is able to win the democratic election and then murder all
everyone.
the 40% that was in power and was corrupt before.
Because we made it illegal to be them.
Yeah. Yeah, like in Iraq, for example,
Yeah.
it was a Sunni country. It was a Shia-dominant country, mostly Shia people. Saddam Hussein was a Sunni, so it was Sunni minority running a Shia-dominant country. We came in, took out the Sunnis, and then suddenly we have an election, and the Shias come into power, and the Shias and Sunnis aren't going to want to work together because the Shias don't trust the Sunnis, because the Sunnis used to be in power and killed their brothers and cousins and whatever, and the Sunnis don't trust the Shias because they're like, hey, we just killed your brothers and cousins.
You're probably going to come for us.
Yeah, and then it becomes civil war, and the Kurds have been getting killed by the Sunnis before too, so they don't trust anybody either.
My brother-in-law, my half-brother, was a captain in the army. And he was in charge of setting up a provisional government in a place like Afghanistan. And he said it took a year of negotiation
Just to meet.
to see percentages of how many Shias would be here, how many Kurds, how many Sunnis. You know, like just to negotiate. Just like, no, we should have 14 seats. Why? They should only have 8. No, let's meet somebody until they finally okay, we agree. Because first meeting will be this Thursday. It goes, oh no, we're not sitting in a room with them. No, we're not. That wasn't part of the. That wasn't part of the gig. I'm not sitting in a room with a fucking Shiite. Are you crazy?
Yeah,
no
that's
fucking
insane.
way. Yeah.
That's
and then he's like,
insane.
"What?" And then tour was over.
Yeah. No, that's fucking insane.
So that's why democracy does. You can't force something. So we tried to, and then
So this group, the Project for a New American Century, wrote that we need to have a catastrophe like a Pearl Harbor style attack that would make people be willing to spend more money on the
Pentagon stuff.
Yeah.
Wait,
So-
and then that could justify them now dominating and put our democracy everywhere.
Yeah.
We
So
don't have
they-
to worry
so they-
about Russia anymore. Now we can fucking go forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
So conspiracy theorists say
Go outside.
9/11 was an inside job. What's that?
You want to go outside? You're just standing up.
I'm standing up straight.
Okay, go ahead.
Conspiracy theorists say 9/11 was an inside job. You could see that they wanted a 9/11 style thing to happen so that they could do what they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if 9/11 was an inside job. I think too much time gets wasted on that. But for sure, they said they wanted an attack like that to happen so that they could go into the Middle East and spread democracy, and they got that, and they did.
They did. So you couldn't. It couldn't. Right. It didn't have to be an inside job, but either way, they're like, "Oh, that's perfect for us."
Yeah, it's perfect. It just happened to work out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then they took that opportunity. They went in.
Yeah, it's like if your
and
team
it
just
turns out you
barely
can't.
gets aced out of the NBA playoffs, and you're like, "Well, that sucks," but if we got the number 1 pick, it would be worth it. And then you do, and you're like, "Oh, well."
Yeah.
I mean,
In their defense, though, too, they tried something really hard, which is changing the world to have everybody be democracy.
yeah.
And that idea is really difficult to do. And then they had George Bush, his administration, trying to execute it. And I feel like if somebody's better, if his dad was trying to execute it, somebody smarter, they may have actually had a shot. Because in Iraq, if immediately see, like, what happened in Iraq is immediately after we took over, we disbanded the Ba'ath Party, which was the party of Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
But it was the only party. So anybody who worked anywhere in the government was part of that Ba'ath Party and suddenly got fired from all their jobs. And so you have all these people who used to have jobs, and the next day they
all
don't
got
have
fired
jobs
from the jobs.
anymore.
Why? Because we didn't want bad
Because you can't have bad people. They're Saddam's people.
But everybody was
Everybody was Saddam's
Didn't they have
people.
like a 99.9% turnout rate every year for the elections, quote unquote?
Yeah, because and it was always Saddam.
Always Saddam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so by disbanding the Ba'ath Party, you took the people who ran the government and told them you're fired, so they suddenly lost their job, and you didn't have competent people running the bureaucracy that ran the government.
Oh, so it's people like have no. That's
so
what
the
Matt
lights
went wrong.
weren't coming on. Like things, all these government-run things were just people didn't know how to do shit, and it was just a bad move. What they should have done is they should have said, "Hey, everybody gets a second chance. Saddam's gone.
There is no bath party anymore. You're done.
The top level people who did the atrocities, we're going after them and we're going to get them. But everybody else,
You were just taking orders.
you're just taking orders, and we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to figure out a new way to transition in new people who are from all different ethnic backgrounds, whatever. They had an opportunity to set up a good system. Instead, they thought it was they thought it was already done after they got rid of Saddam. They didn't think about the future of the country.
They didn't think to actually know about the ins and outs of that people that were there.
They didn't think about setting up a new
Fucking
government.
comedy clubs know this. The Improv knows, hey, if Killer Bees wants to play, we can have him at the fucking Atlanta Improv, but we can't have him at the fucking Brea Improv because no one here likes Southern comedy.
Right, and they don't know it.
Yeah, you got to ask them specifically, what do they want to see?
Yeah.
So we went in there with no thought of it, just like it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Fired everybody that we thought was loyal to Saddam.
Everybody who was part of Saddam's party, which was everybody who ran shit. And then we caused it to be a shitstorm. And then
what does that mean? That means that everything went south because the government wasn't run well because you're doing it by people who don't know how to do it.
All of the former soldiers and stuff didn't stand and fight with Saddam. They went and took their weapons and went and hid. And now they weren't soldiers anymore. They were just guys with weapons who were fighting back against whoever was in the thing. So everybody started fighting for their own interests against the Americans. And then that's
what do
when
you mean against the Americans?
Well, I mean, we were in Iraq for a while.
Yeah.
Right? We just recently pulled out, and we still have a big embassy. But while we were there and we were occupying the country, we were fighting Sunnis in one corner and Shias in the other. And we were friends with the Kurds because the Kurds tend to be pretty chill people relative to the Shias and Sunnis. Yeah, I mean, also the Kurds that I've met here are pretty chill.
They're always in the bottom, though, right?
Yeah, I think they're just such an oppressed people that, like, you don't
got to worry about them.
Yeah, they're some of the there's a Vice thing about the Kurds fighting off ISIS. They're the most badass guys who are like just fighting nonstop because there are not that many of them over there.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think a lot of them were just ISIS wiped out a lot of them. Oh. But that's the thing. Like Iraq was stable under Saddam, but it was a bad dictator that we helped put in. Whatever. We destabilized it and didn't know what the fuck we were doing for such a long time that, Al Qaeda came in, who wasn't there, and then changed into ISIS now.
You're saying that's one of those groups of people who just went back into the woods and was like, "Well, wait till these Americans are gone, and we're just waiting here." And now they all formed. Hey, you want to be on my team?
Yeah.
And then that became Al Qaeda.
Let's be Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda's been fighting against these guys who came and killed your brother. Like, let's be like them too. So it was a name that people took pride in, and so they were like, "Oh, we're Al Qaeda." And then when another group came in and said, "Hey, ISIS," and had flashier or whatever,
and they tagged the corner here. ISIS,
they were the next
crew.
gang that was like, we're even badder than these guys. We're going to do this. They came in and I feel like I don't know. I think going back to people got to die for change. It's like I feel like America has to at some point just get out of the way.
Yeah.
And just know that there's going to be a lot of innocent, sad people that are going to die.
And we made a mistake. Now get out.
We made a mistake. Get out and try and support any sort of thing that comes out of the peace negotiations. Because eventually people will kill each other, and eventually at some point the killing will stop, and somebody will be the leader. And then at that point we negotiate with whoever that person is. But it's sad. But I mean we can't make the world all democracy, is what it turns out.
Well, it turns out people hate each other too.
Yeah,
this is what happened with India too. They kicked out the that's what formed Pakistan.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're gonna just keep murdering you until you get back to that country, and now that's Pakistan. So they're all one ethnic group.
When you bring democracy, whoever is the bigger ethnic group is gonna win and want to kick out the other people, and those other people are gonna go to another section and say we're autonomous now. We want independence, and it's just gonna be civil war, civil war, civil war. Yeah.
How many different ethnic groups are there in that region? It's like Afghanistan and Iraq.
No, I think it's.
Hundreds
there's
ethnic groups.
If you talk about India, I think India has hundreds.
Oh, India, yeah.
There's like the Pashtuns and the people like the Muslims in Kashmir versus the Christians in Kashmir. There's like so many different subsets over there that all want autonomy. In the Middle East, it's like there's Kurdish people, there's Sunnis and Shias. Among the Shias, mostly, because most Iranians are Shia, there's Iranian and Arab Shias.
Is that how the country started in the first place? Through like ethnic lines?
No, Iran's been a country for a long time. From the Persian Empire times, it's been Iran.
Yeah. What about Iraq and Afghanistan?
And I think Iraq and Afghanistan are on different sides of Iran.
Yeah. Remember, were they always formed like that, or was
No.
that just like over time?
After World War II, after World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and
Yeah.
France and Great Britain mainly started breaking up the Middle East into little chunks.
They just put themselves in charge of it?
Yeah, they gave each other little colonies,
Oh.
and they put people in charge of it. So they took Saudi Arabia and they gave it to the Kingdom of Saudi or whatever, and they took Jordan and they gave it to the King Abdullah or whatever of Jordan, and they took a little
What?
piece off of Iraq and made that Kuwait because they were like, there's too much oil in Iraq. Let's split it into two so that no one guy. One dictator's running too much of it. So it's like middle management, right?
Yeah.
They're like, we're the big colony. These guys will be the corrupt guys who keep shit cracking,
Yeah.
like so we don't have to be
And
the ones.
whoever the managers are will be on the take, I'm sure, a little bit, but
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah,
whatever.
they're going to be filthy rich millionaires too, but they're going to be the evil
Do some of our
dictators.
dirty work.
And we just collect the money as the corporate elites of Great Britain and France.
Yeah.
And America too. But at that point, I think Britain was the country. I think after World War II, America.
The sun never sets in the
took
British
over.
Empire.
Yeah.
They had places all over the world.
Yeah. And they always did it that way too. They had other people do their dirty work,
Weren't you telling me about that? About that's why Africans don't hate white people?
Yeah, they hate Indian people
Why?
because Great Britain brought in Indians to be the middle management that cracked down on the workers and stuff.
In Africa.
In Africa. That's why Idi Amin kicked out all the Indian people who were Africans who were generations of living in Uganda were kicked out because they weren't African descent Africans. They were Indian descent African.
Oh, and people are like, we hate you. You're our fucking managers.
Yeah.
That's why there's been not as much terrorists from Africa to Britain, you say, because they don't hate the white face the way in the Middle East. We're there.
Maybe.
And we're the face of their oppressors. I'm like, fuck the white guy.
Maybe. That might be true. I don't know.
I feel like you told me that once.
I don't know. Did I say
Yeah,
that? I don't know.
they did better by putting other people as a manager.
No,
so they don't have
that's
to hate
definitely true.
them,
That's
their
definitely
look.
true, yeah.
Not that it's never happened with terrorism, but it's like
I feel like there are a lot of North African terrorists that join ISIS and stuff, and that there was a black guy who tried to do this. The shoe bomber was like a black African guy. So I don't think that ideology wise
North Africa is like it's like
the Middle East.
Middle East.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's super Muslim. But so is like Somalia has like some crazy Muslims in there too.
Yeah.
I think anywhere there's poor people, there's Muslim and Christian missionaries trying to convert people into whatever religion, and the Muslim ones, I think some of them are terrorist groups.
Yeah. So we went in there trying to force our control and our governmental system, kind of nobly, I guess, really, when you think about it. Like, we just want everybody free, have some freedom.
I think some of the people probably had noble intentions.
Yeah.
I think some of those neocons probably did actually have some noble
What does
intentions.
neocon stand for?
Neoconservatives. Like they used to be liberals. I think the term comes from them. They used to be liberals, like back in the '60s or whatever.
Yeah.
And their liberalism brought them to believe that the world should be changed to be a liberal democracy like America.
Through force or not?
Now they're new conservatives because they're part of the conservative party.
Okay.
Of whatever.
So these guys now, they're like, it would be great if we just get some fucking big Pearl Harbor thing going. And then they did. It was like, hey guys, remember we talked about, now's
Yeah.
our chance. So how about we rile everybody up? We point them to just some country over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, well, shouldn't it be the one that just doesn't matter?
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it was partially to do with like Bush saying Saddam tried to kill my daddy. Maybe it was something. Maybe it was
Is that
a little
too?
bit of
Yeah.
Who knows? It's so interesting.
Yeah, that's a real person.
Yeah. And it's
Not
like
a
you
president,
tried
it's
to
a
kill.
real
You tried to
dude.
kill my dad.
Everybody talks about how
Here's my
embarrassed he is.
opportunity to go kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, wouldn't you? If somebody tried to kill your dad,
Like
wouldn't
that.
you want to kill him?
It's had to carry a
Yeah.
problem. It's like when in Billy Madison, when Happy Gilmore, when
Yeah.
he finds the fucking alligator that bit off Curly's
Yeah.
arm. It's like, I have it for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, for sure. Dude, a lot of this is just that. A lot of this is all revenge.
Just all Game of Thrones shit. It's all Game of Thrones
it's all
shit.
Game of Thrones shit. There's a kid, probably today,
Yeah.
whose dad got killed in a drone strike, probably.
Yeah.
There's probably
some kid in Yemen
some
was like,
kid, we don't know.
fucking, who did it?
Yeah. And he knows that the terrorists don't have dope drones like that.
Yeah.
So he's like, it had to have been America.
Yeah.
And so now this kid
They don't have dope drones like
wants to kill America,
Yeah.
just like Bush wanted to kill the guy who threatened his dad. It's all
Yeah.
revenge is so much of Middle Eastern conflict.
that. And so now we go, okay, now that we've made a mess,
Yeah.
We've made a bunch of kids. They're growing up now. They want to kill us.
Yeah. What do we do?
So now what we're generally doing, if I'm saying this right, is we're going is like, well, we got to keep these motherfuckers down.
Yeah, and we're flying airplanes with guns on them and shooting
They want to kill us. Let's bomb them.
Yeah.
Like, but he has 3 brothers.
Yeah.
Now they're all mad at us too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we better bomb them.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. I feel like the only solution, as corny as it sounds like, is at some point somebody's got to just have some love and say, like, sorry, and we're
Yeah.
going to stop shooting and let you guys deal with it. And some of the guys are going to be bad guys.
Some of the guys are going to be bad guys.
You know? And there'll be innocent people who die, but we need to stop
But that happens now.
having it be on our hands, though.
That happens now. We're killing tons of innocent people.
We need to have it not be on our hands, and whoever's controlling the remote control airplanes,
Yeah.
Needs to not be the one pushing the trigger.
I compare it to like if you're like, hey, there's dirty dishes in the sink. Somebody's got to wash them, and then like somebody sends a toddler in there, and he just starts smashing them.
Yeah.
He starts smashing them.
Yeah.
And you're like, get out of there. And then like 2 months later, like, hey, there's dirty dishes in the sink. Somebody's like, well,
I
send the
sent the
toddler in.
toddler, yeah. I
And it's like,
already
no, don't send him in. He only fucks it up. It's like,
Yeah.
we can't just leave the dirty dishes. We got to do something.
Are the options this toddler breaks them or they stay dirty?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Maybe an animal will come by and lick them clean. That's a better option than the toddler
Yeah.
smashing them.
And that's actually the thing we need to do is we need to leave the dirty dishes and hope that some animals come and lick that shit clean. Probably in the interim, those animals are going to kill each other.
Yeah, they are, huh?
And it's going to be sad, but we can't be there.
So what happened was before, a dictator would come in and fill the vacuum.
Yeah.
Saying, I've got power, nobody fuck around, everybody
There's a lot of
owes
people
me.
being killed under
There was.
under Assad in Syria, and there still are, and a lot of people being killed under
By
Saddam.
each other, not by the government, or just
by the
each other?
government, for sure. By the government. All these Middle Eastern governments are dictators. They've all got blood on their hands for killing their own people and other people who are refugees who come in and stuff.
Syria razed a town, put bulldozers over a town because they tried to revolt. Not revolt or like speak out against the government. They just demolished
it,
a
yeah.
whole like 16,000 person town.
Yeah. It's brutality that ends up,
Everyone does what they say.
yeah. Either they voted for you and really like you, which
Yeah.
is way harder to get done, which is why democracies constantly have people getting kicked out of office or not voting.
Why?
Because people, they don't get shit done. Democracies, it's hard to get anything passed. Same, like we were talking at the beginning, single payer healthcare is not going to get passed because you have this Congress that is dominated by corporate interests.
Oh,
so
wait a
nothing
minute.
gets done.
By the way, those corporate interests, like the insurance coming in and said, no, we got to make sure it's done this way. It's the same as those dictators in the Middle East coming over. It's like we've just naturally
But a
risen to power.
dictator-
Through a vacuum, I've risen to power. Through a vacuum, insurance companies have risen to power.
Yeah, but it's not really a vacuum because they set it up. They
Right.
were in the room writing the laws for the new laws for insurance. So it's even worse than them filling a vacuum. But a dictator can fill the vacuum, and if he's like a good dictator, like say what you want about Fidel Castro and them, but he did make Cuba, which is a really poor country, have a healthcare system
Yeah.
that's on par with a lot of Western countries. Everybody has healthcare in Cuba. They have universal healthcare. So the fact that one dictator could do that, but the democratic system of America can't
Cannot.
do that, shows like there is a benefit to having a dictator. It's one guy saying, this is how we do it now.
Yeah,
and then,
you need
and then
one.
you get
You
it
need
done.
one person on a lot of stuff.
But
Bureaucracy.
if you have
can't-
one person, then most of the time it's mostly bad stuff. Most of the time you want your government to not have too much power because I don't
take-
trust government.
Yeah. Why was just one dude who's not going to be
Yeah.
complete? Like, I want to kill. I want your
That's
wife,
what
man.
I hate about Obama is he's expanded the role of the presidency so much, and it's like I like Obama. Maybe I even trust him to not, do Middle Eastern internment camps or some shit like that.
about
But
the
like
next
the
guy?
next guy or the next guy after that, you never know.
Well, I was saying this before. It's like when he said he had the power to like now arrest people and claim terrorism and say we don't have to try you because
Yeah,
of
it's
national
ridiculous.
interest. But it's like he's not going to abuse that Obama. It's like, but what about the guy who's born right now who's got an
Exactly.
evil streak in him? And now you realize,
Exactly.
oh wait, I said that 4 or 5 years ago. The
Yeah.
next guy's right there.
Yeah, he's coming
Donald
of
Trump
age.
could easily.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying the guy could be our next president.
Oh, Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's might not even be 30 years from now.
Yeah.
It might be way sooner.
I don't think Donald Trump will win the election, but anything can happen when it's down to two people.
Well, people say that like a lot of Republicans won't vote for Trump so that he can't win. But then when you think about it, a lot of Democrats won't vote for Hillary Clinton either.
Yeah, it's true. But I think a lot of people will vote against Trump.
Yeah, you will have that. You
The
will have that.
anti-Trump vote is going to be huge.
Yeah, you will have that.
But it's scary though. It's scary.
I don't even see him doing all those things he said
I don't
he's going to do.
I don't either. I don't think he can.
But I think yeah, exactly.
I don't think he can. But I think having somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, I think Bush coming into office was bad for the country, mainly because if Gore was there when 9/11 happened, I think our response wouldn't have been the same. And I think America would have probably had a response, but it wouldn't have been as...
It would have been a lot safer.
It would have been a lot safer, and I don't think they would have... I think it would have been thought through a lot more.
We had a bad boss.
We had a bad boss. For 8 years,
we had a dummy.
We had a really bad guy running the hardest plan.
The department,
the plan to recreate the world in the look of democracy is like such a hard plan. It's so difficult to do. And this guy,
and George Bush Jr. was not the dude.
Yeah, and people think his dad wasn't smart, but his dad was like super smart. I think he's smarter than people. I think he's a rich kid. I think he's smarter than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
But I think because he's still his dad's son.
Well, they say they got C's.
But I think he did a lot of drugs.
They're like, yeah, but he got C's at Harvard or
He
Yale.
got gentleman C's, which means
really?
his dad paid so much money that
can't go
they
below
passed
this.
him. Yeah, that he was going to get passed.
Yeah, he did a lot of hard drugs. He did a lot of coke.
Yeah, I think he did. I think when you do a lot of hard drugs, and I think
like Dean
alcohol
Gelber.
too. I think drinking a shit ton of alcohol, I think during formative years especially, because he drank as a teen too.
Yeah.
His daughters did too. They're in Texas, living it up. I think during those years when you build your work ethic of being really intellectually curious about the world, I don't think he was. I think he was more curious by getting fucked up. And I think it made him just kind of a dummy, not a stupid person. I think his IQ is probably a normal level, but he's just not curious about the world, and he allowed a lot of people around him to make bad decisions.
Because when you think about it, it's not just about like here's what I believe, here's my my stance on things. Like when we run for president, but it's also like how are you going to get it done?
Yeah,
it's also like you have to be. It's not just like It's like how am I going to do this?
Foreign policy with the troops.
Yeah,
the president can say, "I'm sending the troops into Iran today." Even without the Congress's approval, he can put them in a military action.
Yeah.
He can't declare war, but he can send them in somewhere.
And he's not smart enough to think it through.
So it's scary. Yeah, he's the commander in chief, so he's literally making the decisions minute by minute of what they do. That's why Obama is in all these countries that we're not in war with, like Yemen, flying airplanes, shooting people. Like that's another scary one. Is there was a guy, I forget his name.
Building terrorists in Yemen. What?
There was this terrorist guy. Well, he never actually committed terrorism himself, but he'd been encouraging terrorism through his YouTube videos, and he was really, really popular. And he was an American-born guy who moved to Yemen and made YouTube videos out of Yemen. So he's a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And we drone killed him. And it's like I don't feel bad for the guy because he was a piece of shit, encouraging people to kill people and stuff and using whatever religion stuff to do that. But it was a precedent that was crazy, was the U.S. killed a U.S. citizen on foreign ground, assassination style. Like, it was just like, oh, wow, they can do that now.
Yeah.
They can kill me. And if they accidentally kill me, they could say, "Oh, he was a terrorist," and it's like, oh,
right?
So
they don't have to get you first.
Yeah.
They don't have to catch you first and put you on trial. They'll be like, "There he is, kill him."
Yeah, I've done a couple podcasts, so I think the people know that I'm not a terrorist,
right.
So they wouldn't be able to get away with it with me. No.
Oh, so right. So if that guy was doing something else, let's say that guy was doing something else. Let's say he was doing, saying, "Hey, we should no longer sell oil to Americans. That's what we should do. Just don't sell oil to them.
Yeah,
don't nothing harmful, but sell no oil to them." And we'd be like, "Oh, hey, what? No." We could
I don't
just
think
say,
we would have been able to kill him then. He was saying, kill Americans.
Can't you just say he also did this? He has ties to.
Yeah, I mean that's
to Saudi
the slippery
Arabia.
slope fear that I have.
Yeah.
At this point, like we were saying before,
all you have to do is say that.
killed him because he's like, this guy's been encouraging a lot of people, and there's been a lot of people who got killed because of this guy's encouragement. Let's kill the encourager. And you're like, okay, I trust Obama to make that
trust him.
decision.
You don't second guess him, but I don't know. Is that true? I don't know.
But then it's like, what about Michelle Bachmann when she's president, or Donald Trump when he's president, and he says, well, this guy pretended to
Trust
be
me,
a comic.
he's a bad guy.
He's a splinter cell, and we found out, and that's why we killed him. It's like, oh shit, like, yeah. What about the next guy you don't trust? He could just lie and kill U.S. citizens. I don't know.
Yeah, we've already made that before we had a system set up where it's like, no matter what, because we're worried about people becoming corrupt.
Yeah.
So no matter what, everyone's always got to have access to a fair, public, speedy trial.
Yeah.
We got to put
you
on
trial away for terrorism.
Yeah, you got to get people first. If I can't get a fucking bank robber, you can't just. You got to find him and get him. Well, he's on another country. Well, then fucking, I don't know, talk to their government. See if they'll ship him over here.
Why don't we just do everything Munich style?
What is that?
Have you seen the movie Munich where Israel...
It's my favorite movie about animals.
Yeah. But it's like Israel has their people killed.
Yeah.
They didn't go and bomb all of the Middle Eastern countries. They went and targeted one by one the people who were involved.
Who did the killing.
And it's so much more badass. It makes your soldiers seem like heroes instead of seem like villains who are killing.
Because no little girl has a missing arm and fucking crying in front of rubble. It's like, well, she would have been.
Dude, my friend Jeff Karasalis, I see him at open mics talking about he was forced to kill like children in Iraq and shit.
Really?
Yeah, it's like it's really sad. He'd actually be a good
Really?
guest,
What's
too.
his name?
Jeff Karasalis.
Yeah, it sounds like
I'll connect you with him.
Okay.
But he was a soldier in Iraq, and he's talks about killing kids.
What?
and I can't imagine it not fucking you up for life, knowing that you've killed a kid.
And I think what happens to the kid's brother or father who actually is like, oh, I actually like that kid.
Yeah. So many lives get fucked over.
So what should we do then? Like, what's a solution possible?
I think it's leaving.
Take our lumps. Take our lumps.
Yeah.
There will be some people that are already are radicalized against us.
Yeah. And trying to like offering troops to some sort of United Nations peacekeeping effort in the countries, and then having transitional governments, whatever way we can that provide stability.
What about having a bunch of like schools and hospitals built, and then leaving and say, if you want to tear it down, fucking tear it down. But here they are. Goodbye.
Or building schools and hospitals, and then also putting troops through the UN that are peacekeeping troops who are there to protect the schools and the hospitals.
Yeah.
And saying to people, if you guys want, we can bring people to bring peace into your neighborhoods through UN peacekeeper troops. If you don't, we'll stay out of those neighborhoods. It's up to you guys, and just giving people help without the idea that we're gonna kill them if they don't obey. It's like, hey, we're here to serve. If we just served people,
right?
You know. I think it's also the same thing with the police force. If the police force tried to serve their community instead of being afraid of them.
Hey, what do you guys want? Yeah, exactly. Like, this guy seems like he's starting trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, no one minds, man. No one minds. Leave him alone. None of us mind.
Yeah. Nobody in any neighborhood wants to have zero police in their neighborhood who live there. Like the police provide some sort of comfort as long as you don't feel like the police are targeting you or afraid of you.
Yeah. I had a guy who was after the guy who got killed selling Lucy's, Eric Garner.
Oh yeah.
And so let's just say, bottom line, let's say on the best case scenario on the cop side is that guy it was just a kind of freak accident. He had a weird level of asthma and he died when the cop did whatever chokehold he did. I had a shop owner reach out and be like, you have to understand, Ari, it's like, I don't want people selling my products right outside my business. It kind of hurts my business. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, but if a guy was doing that to you, as annoying as this, would you want to just hire someone to go choke the fuck out of him, throw him on the ground and just start choking him? Or would you want someone to come in there and chase him out? And the guy's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't want a choking out.
Yeah.
So let's say forget the death. Let's say it was an accident. Even that is so far. They're like, who are you serving, man?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just going into the situation thinking this is life and death.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I think cops go into situations like I saw it. I was in Oakland. We were just walking to get food from this one burger place, and this van got pulled over, and the cop came out with the gun out, pointed at the driver, saying, "Hands on the steering wheel, blah blah blah." And we were just like sitting there staring because it seemed like, oh, this guy must be a murderer that they just caught because their guns were out pointed, and we just sit there and watch, and eventually they let the guy go. And I was like, okay, then they didn't need to pull the gun out when they got out. They're walking out as if it's a life and death situation when they should be walking out as if it's one of their neighbors that may have broken a law and they need to give them a citation or whatever. And I think, and what's amazing is, I don't remember who told me this, but I remember hearing on something that the military, when they go in to a room, they don't go in with the guns pointed unless they're ready to shoot a suspect. Having your gun up means you're ready to pull the trigger.
Oh, really?
It's always guns down when you're running into a situation. But the police seem to run in with their guns out, and the SWAT teams you always see are always with their guns pointed as they turn every corner.
It's always like, when they shoot some fucking neighbor dog by accident, like we didn't know, we didn't have the right address, we went into the place next door. It's like, well, then why are you just shooting random dogs?
Yeah. And did you see, side subject, John Oliver had a segment on 9/11, on 911, like dispatch people?
No.
Can't find where anybody is.
Really?
Yeah. So like you might call 911 because you're shot here. They'll find the cell tower that's closest to you, and they'll still be like a quarter mile away from you though, because
You just go searching for it in circles.
or something. I don't know. Like the technology's there for them to find you, but they don't use it.
Yeah. So Iran was never a problem at all, really, right?
Iran was like the beacon country in the Middle East. It was like the ally of the West until 1979. It was like Israel and Iran were the two non-Arab countries.
What happened in 79? Let's go inside. I'm getting cold now.
Okay.
What happened in 79?
There was the Islamic Revolution in Iran.
Which was what? Islam took over?
Yeah. I mean, basically what happened is there was a communist revolution in Iran in 79.
Yeah.
The Tudeh party, which was the Communist Party of Iran. It was mainly middle-class people who wanted to have a communist
System of
takeover.
government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And typically
how was that revolution? Peaceful or not peaceful?
Well, it got hijacked, and it ultimately became not peaceful.
Yeah.
But the Shah left, he was kind of a chicken, and he left pretty peacefully.
He just took off, went to another country?
Yeah, he was very scared, and he took off.
Why? Was he violent?
Yeah, I mean, he'd done some torture and stuff like that, and, he was a dictator too.
Yeah.
But he wasn't, like, brutal enough to keep his power.
Yeah.
But he wasn't benevolent enough to set up, like, a democracy.
He wasn't brutal enough to keep his
so-
power, but he wasn't benevolent enough.
To set up a democracy. He wasn't
Wasn't
a good
benevolent.
enough-
Loved?
Benevolent being, like, a good guy.
Oh, right.
Doing good things. So in 79, the Communist Party tried to have a revolution. Typically in the Middle East, and in Iran in particular, the middle class people, the merchant class, would use the religious folks to get poor people on their side of their revolution to kick out whatever dictator they didn't like.
They'd use poor folks to do what?
They would use the religious leaders
Yeah.
to get the poor people on the side of their revolution.
Yeah. I'll stay
So
here.
they tried to do the same thing, and one of the leaders against the Shah was this guy Ayatollah Khomeini,
Yeah.
and he was a religious guy who was anti-Shah for a long time. He'd been speaking out against it. So the Communist Party tried to use him as an image to galvanize the people against the Shah in favor of their communist revolution. Khomeini, though, saw that as an opportunity to say, fuck these communists, and he killed off all the communist leaders and stuff and made it an Islamic revolution. So they started the revolution, but as soon as the Shah left and Khomeini came back to the country, he killed off all the leaders of the revolution.
Who were using him as their leader head, as a, like, we're doing it for the fucking Ayatollah.
Who were like, yeah, the Ayatollah's got our back. He supports our cause, and as soon as he had an opportunity to take over, he killed off those guys.
Because the Shah who kicked him out, or who made him leave, is now gone. The only reason he was gone.
Was gone.
He took the only reason I was gone.
Yeah. So it was started by communists and then it kind of hijacked by the Islamists to be an Islamic revolution.
Oh.
Are those edibles?
No.
No, they're just regular.
Penguins.
Oh, yeah.
And so then after that, what was happening?
So then Ayatollah Khomeini took over, installed his own Islamic government with the Revolutionary Guard as his own like separate military group that was like had allegiance to him and the Muslim government, and killed off all the people who were his rivals and established what's been in Iran since. And U.S. relations with Iran has been pretty shitty since.
Why?
There was the hostage crisis that happened that same year in '79.
Same year he came back?
Same year he
took
came
Americans
back.
hostage?
Yeah, we still had our embassy in Iran, and so a bunch of students who Khomeini didn't know about them doing this and didn't give them approval for, but when he saw how popular what they did was, and he didn't want to seem like he didn't have control over the people.
Yeah.
He acted like, yeah, I agree that was part of what I was trying to do too, you know.
Really?
So he knew to take credit for shit, or also make him look like a weak leader. So he took credit for it. And what it was these, I think they were like college students or whatever. But in 1953, there was a
These were
Democratic
just gangs. With
Yeah.
like a little part of his gang and a bigger part of the gang, you know,
Yeah.
where it's like, yeah, I made those guys rob that, like in Goodfellas when they get kicked back to the guy for robbing that truck.
Because if he didn't, like a mob boss, if he didn't say I made them do that, then they did it on their own,
Why
and
not
it
they're
takes
the boss?
and it takes
Yeah.
his power away. Exactly. So these college students or whatever went in and they went into the U.S. embassy, which an embassy is sovereign territory. It's like going into America. They went into there and took all these documents and held, I think it was like 13 hostages for like a year or something. And yeah, so in America,
How'd we get him back?
basically, Jimmy Carter tried to do this one thing with these helicopters that crashed that really hurt his popularity, because like he tried to do a rescue mission that failed and the helicopter crashed and the helicopter guy died too. So he like lost more people there. And basically what happened is Jimmy Carter was running for election against Ronald Reagan at the time.
Yeah.
Because it was the 1980 election was coming up. Jim Baker, who worked for Ronald Reagan.
Wait, the religious guy?
No.
That's something Baker. Tammy Faye Baker and
Yeah.
Jim Baker? Is that who you just said?
I think Jim Baker is the guy who worked for Reagan and Bush. He was like chief of staff for Reagan. I think he was chief of staff. And he went in secret deals with the Iranians and told them to not release the hostages until after Jimmy Carter loses the election.
Really?
Because if Jimmy Carter would have gotten the hostages released before the election, it would have been enough for him to have won the 1980 election.
And why did the Iranians agree to that?
Because what later on got exposed as Iran-Contra.
In return, we will give you a bunch of weapons.
Exactly, and that was Iran-Contra, which was the U.S. Iran was an enemy of the U.S. at the time, so we weren't legally allowed to sell them weapons. But through Iran-Contra, we sold them weapons illegally. They gave the U.S. money for those weapons, which then went to the Contras in Nicaragua, who Congress had passed a law that we couldn't fund anymore. So we illegally funded the Contras by illegally selling weapons to Iranians through Iran-Contra.
So we took the weapons we had, said, well, we can't give them to the Contras. And why do we want the Contras? Because we don't control that area.
Because
Same reasons.
we were supporting the Contras because the Sandinistas were like a socialist government, and we were Cold War politics. Like,
So instead of
Can't
sending
let
our
a communist
weapons straight to
country.
them, we sold them to Iran. Like,
so
cool.
we weren't allowed to give the Contras any more money. And we weren't allowed to sell weapons to Iran, and we're also not allowed to import cocaine. That's another thing. But what we ended up doing was selling weapons to Iran illegally, taking
Through
that
how?
money.
Through how? How did no one see it?
I mean, it's the U.S. government. They have military means. They can do anything they want. I know that Oliver North, confessed under oath about doing all this.
Oh, yeah.
But it got forgotten. And the biggest thing that got forgotten was we would take the weapons and sell them to Iran, take that money, give it to the Contras in Nicaragua, and then it got exposed that we would fly in U.S. ships full of cocaine.
Fly in. What do you mean?
From Nicaragua, we would fly in cocaine on U.S. military ships into Homestead Air Force Base. It was on, like, if you read Noam Chomsky's
And then what,
Understanding
deliver
Power,
it and sell it to the street?
who knows what happened to it after that. People like, if you ever watch like anything about Rick Ross, the guy who first brought crack to the West Coast or whatever, he talks about having a CIA agent be his connect that sold him his drugs. So maybe the CIA funded a lot of what they did. Who knows what happened to it? But there's evidence that U.S. airplanes brought in cocaine from Nicaragua. It was all exposed during Iran-Contra.
Nicaragua's like, we can only pay you a little bit, but we can give you this coke if you want.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are we going to do with it? I mean, I guess we could.
Yeah.
We could sell it wholesale to some of these guys in different ghettos. Nowhere is safe, but like, the shitty parts of town.
Yeah, probably.
Bring in money that way. It's kind of like a fundraiser.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Crazy,
a fundraiser.
right?
Well, aren't you afraid somebody's like, no, I'll just tell my kid not to do crack. and I'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what happens through the CIA?
Wow.
It's like there's really no oversight.
So okay, so then we have Iran. Whatever, we start funding them. They're selling them weapons
Yeah.
in the 80s, all through the 80s.
Well, yeah, they were fighting a war right after the revolution with Iraq, the Iran-Iraq war. So we were selling them weapons. Also, what's interesting is Israel was the country that really encouraged the U.S. to sell them weapons in the Iran-Iraq war.
To fight off Iraq.
To fight off Iraq, because it was like enemy of my enemy kind of thing.
But Iran was not a problem for Israel.
Not until the Islamic Revolution. Once the Muslims came in, the hardcore Muslims saw a Jewish country on Muslim homeland, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque is like the third holiest site in Islam. So it's like the third holiest site to Muslims. I feel like Muslims are willing
Jewish
to
control.
die harder for their third holiest site than any other religion would die for their holiest site.
Yeah.
They treat that third holiest site like it's as holy or holier than anything any other religion's ever seen.
Yeah.
So they're pissed, but it was like Israel was like, hey, this is the only other non-Arab Middle Eastern country. We've had good relations in the past. You can't let all that Iran land fall in the hands of Saddam too.
So like, hey, some
So like,
fucking
yeah,
weapons, man.
yeah, help them out.
And they did that.
So they sold weapons to both
They
sides.
secured it by Reagan saying, hey, don't let these fucking hostages out. So after I'm elected,
Yeah,
and then I'll fucking sell you everything you need.
Yeah.
And then he's paying it back. This is what being in the pocket of a business is. Same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You pay off your debts.
yeah,
We made a deal. Now I'm paying you. That's what everybody does.
yeah.
Wow. That's why Hillary Clinton won't release those fucking speeches she made to Goldman Sachs and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think unless she says something really awful, I always think it's best to just release whatever boring speech you gave.
I know, but then it's been like 9 months and she still won't
Yeah,
release
and
them.
it's just a story-
And
it's
she's like,
just a
yeah, I'm
story
getting it.
that's
I'm getting it. It's like, well, I mean, you should
Same thing
find
with
those
Trump.
already.
It's like, why isn't Trump releasing his taxes unless there's something so
hide.
bad?
When everybody says release it, and then you don't.
Yeah.
Like with Bernie, they're like, release your taxes. I goes, yeah, my wife has to do it. She's on the fucking
Yeah.
campaign. Wait till we get home this weekend, and then I'll give it to you.
Yeah. But yeah, so then in Iran there was a revolution in '79. We sold them those weapons, so they fought off Iraq. The Iran-Iraq war ended with basically just both sides killing a bunch of each other and nobody winning.
And they kept occupied with each other.
What's that?
And they kept occupied with each other.
What does that mean, occupy with each other?
Iran, Iraq was occupying with each other, and Israel was like, "Oh, we don't got to worry about either one."
Yeah, kind of. It was like good for Israel to have
I gotta go to the
both of
bathroom.
them.
Want to come
But
with me and keep talking?
sure. So then, for the last 30-something years,
Oh, no.
the last 37 years or whatever, it's been an Islamic government.
Yeah.
Recently, Obama getting elected and saying,
Let's reach out.
saying I'm going to reach out and negotiate on the nuclear issue and stuff, and then the Iranians elected a moderate guy, and it looks like
In return,
yeah, the Iranians elected a guy who's one of the more moderate guys.
not Ahmadinejad.
Not Ahmadinejad.
He's done.
He's done, yeah. But the thing you have to keep in mind about Iran putting in a moderate guy is only people who the Ayatollah says are okay to run are allowed to run.
So it's still.
So
in the pocket.
if there's a guy who's super liberal and they're like, this is anti-Islam, they won't let him run.
Oh.
So, but the guy they have running is pro-peace, pro-U.S. relatively, and it looks like U.S. and Iran aren't going to be diehard enemies anymore, hopefully. And which is good for Israel, it's good for the U.S., it's good for everybody. Because the thing I was telling you, too, I think when you were in San Diego, is Jews don't need, or Israel doesn't need to worry about Iran bombing Israel with a nuclear weapon. You know how they're like, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon.
They'll bomb Israel.
They'll bomb Israel. It's like the two countries that are the, quote, Iranian enemies are Israel and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And those are, Saudi Arabia has the two holiest sites of Islam, and Israel has a third, the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
So they're not going to
They're not going to bomb them. What they'll continue to do is sponsor terrorist groups in Israel and in Saudi Arabia. And in, well, Syria is actually one of their closest allies. Assad and the Islamic Republic are actually really close allies, even though that's a Sunni country and Iran's Shia country because of the Iran-Iraq war and having a common enemy of Saddam, because they have two different kinds of Ba'athist parties or something that I don't really understand fully. But Syria and Iraq had beef, and they were had an alliance because of their, I think, mutual disdain for Saddam.
Wow.
And that still lasts, I think, till today.
Where they're still friends.
Yeah, where I think Iranian government supports Assad. Also, the Iranian government is super anti-ISIS because ISIS is trying to take down the Iranian government too.
Oh, so they're like, that's another thing people are saying with ISIS and Al Qaeda. It's like, just let them take care of it themselves.
Yeah,
they will take care of it themselves. Let us not be the face of their fucking.
Yeah.
Weren't you saying also that it's like, how we went into Iraq first and then Afghanistan, then Iraq, and then Iran reached out to us.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on with that?
After Afghanistan, we worked with Iran in Afghanistan to get rid of the Taliban out of Afghanistan. Iran shares a border with Afghanistan and had been trying to fight off the Taliban and supported the Northern Alliance back then forever. And then we worked with them and were successful in Afghanistan. Then after Iraq, Iran was scared shitless. And they actually reached out to Colin Powell's.
What do you mean scared shitless for what?
They were scared because America had just gone into Iraq and just destroyed Iraq's infrastructure and took out Saddam in a matter of a week. And they were
rolled over it.
Militarily wise, they dominated that country. And They were like, we don't want to be next. Let's make peace with America. So they reached out.
They already have peace? No, they didn't have peace.
No. They were next on the list.
So why do they help them with Afghanistan?
Because Afghanistan was an enemy of my enemy type situation.
Same
Taliban,
thing.
yeah.
Like, hey, assholes, you want to work together on this for a second?
Yeah, exactly. And if we would have said, they said, look, now we want to have peace. Everything's on the table. Our support of Hezbollah and Hamas is on the table. Our nuclear program's on the table. We want to have peace with the U.S.
Whose support?
Iran's support of Hezbollah and Hamas and their nuclear program. Everything was on the table. They reached out to Colin Powell's
Let's
office.
discuss everything.
Yeah. Secretary of State Colin Powell, Bush administration. Colin Powell takes it to Rumsfeld, Cheney, and Bush and them. And I think it was Rumsfeld and Cheney who were like, no, Iran's next. And so Iran...
Because we just went into Iraq that had really done nothing.
Yeah.
We just said weapons
of mass destruction. And
everyone's like, well, I can't let that happen.
And then they were like, okay, we can just do the same thing. Iran's developing a nuclear plan.
America's
they're
like,
next.
go for it.
Yeah.
Right. Iran's developing a nuclear plan.
Yeah, we can't have them have nuclear weapons. They were going to be next. You could see it coming. So Iran knowing, hey, we're next.
Even though they've never done anything to America. No, those
other
hostages.
than the hostages, yeah.
But that was like 5 people, 25 years ago.
13 people, I think, maybe. I'm not sure exact numbers, but
89, 99, 09, yeah.
Yeah, it was like 30-something years ago, 29, 79. But they haven't behaved as a government against their interests in most situations. You know, like they've wanted to exist.
Right.
So when they needed to buy weapons from the U.S., they bought them and survived the war with Iraq. They never, did anything to make you think this country is psycho and they're going to blow up the Islamic capitals and
Other than
they're
also brown in the same area. They're from the same type of area, so they must all be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crazy people, I'm sure, in Iran too. But the people who get to the top levels of the
besides
government,
that, there's no reason to think they would do anything as a country.
No,
it's kind of like saying if America does something to some country, it's like we got to get Canada. They're one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh no, they're not really related.
Exactly. So then the U.S. said no. We don't want to have a peace negotiation with Iran.
We said no.
You're next. Yeah,
You're next.
They said I don't know if their response was "you're next," but there's a Frontline documentary all about it where they talk about how Rumsfeld said they're next because it seems so easy. Iraq was so easy. We'll just take Iran out next.
They didn't realize we're dominant. We have no Cold War.
And what they didn't realize was if you turn down Iran's notion of peace, Iran's going to take that as they don't like us. They don't want to make peace with us. As soon as Iraq is stable, they're coming after us. So then what Iran did was went and built a bunch of, what were they called? IADs? Improvised IEDs, improvised explosive devices that they put on the side of the road, and then they would just blow up the tanks on the side of the road. When that started, do you remember when that started happening?
Where was that?
In Iraq.
In Iraq. Who built that?
Iran. Almost all of them came from Iranian military sources. So Iran was like, if we're going to be next on the list, let's make sure Iraq's fucked.
And who do they give it to? Rebels in Iraq?
Yeah, because they have their own Shia links to Iraq, way more than America does, because they have actual family and cultural ties, because it's right there. There's Shia cultures that are very similar. So then they started bombing. They made Iraq way worse. If we would have negotiated with them, Iran could have helped bring stability to Iraq and helped Iraq be way better off during the Bush administration. Instead, they were a force that was making sure Iraq was fucked, because they knew that once the U.S. was untangled out of Iraq, they were pointing towards
So we just
Iran.
started giving weapons to guerrillas. I mean, not we.
Did we do
Iran. Iran just started giving weapons to guerrillas.
Yeah,
in Iraq.
to their forces in Iraq.
Just do some shit.
Improvised explosive devices. The bombs that were on the side of the road, and then as the truck would walk by, somebody went on a cell phone or whatever, hit a button, and it would explode.
Oh,
you remember those?
You should be ready for whatever you wanted.
Yeah. Like basically mines and stuff. They would just started dumping weapons to kill Americans in Iraq.
Wow.
And so there could have been a peace. Instead, because we thought that we won so easily, we thought we had complete victory, when really we had the beginnings of victory.
Yeah.
It was such an opportunity. We could have had peace with Iran, had Iran not supporting terrorist groups, no nuclear program, and stable Iraq. Stable Iraq would probably have meant stable Syria, and all these other countries would have been a different world. Instead, we got super destabilized to the point where it's Wild West terrorist groups fighting each other. Like one terrorist group versus another terrorist group. Al-Qaeda said ISIS was too fucked up.
Really?
Al-Qaeda said ISIS is too fucked up in the way that they kill civilians without caring. That's fucking nuts, man. That's... Yeah.
So just a bunch of warring factions just rise up. Gangs. Looking for
Pretty
control.
much, yeah. I mean, you got two. I feel like the religions themselves are gangs right there.
Right.
And then I bet, I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine within the religious groups, there's probably different blocks and neighborhoods that have their own.
Yeah, Islam. The same as Jews have. Jews this is what we believe. And then they have the
there's
B'nai
Crips
Jews
and
who are
Bloods.
Yeah.
And then within the Crips, there's the 18th Street Crips and the whatever Crips and whatever Crips. And those guys probably kill each other.
You think so?
Over, sometimes, yeah. Over who's going to be the leader of that neighborhood more.
Yeah.
If there's a block that's shared, who gets to be at the end of this block right here? You guys have to stay further down there. All that stuff has to be negotiated usually through violence or fear of violence.
Yeah.
And these are terrorist groups, so I'm pretty sure that they're not the best communicators.
So Iran just went on the offensive and said, well, we got to fucking distract you with some more shit in Iraq.
Yeah,
so you can't come after us. And we just left. And we're still kind of there.
Yeah.
Wait, so why did the rebels start attacking Americans? Why wouldn't they just attack each other?
What do you mean?
We go in there, we get rid of the fucking minority leader. Mm-hmm. So then all these majorities are being quashed. Mm-hmm. Now they're rising to power. It seems like they want to kill each other.
The majority is going to want to kill that minority that used to be in power. Mm-hmm. But the U.S. was the occupying power that was saying you're not allowed to kill that person.
Oh.
So we were occupying as the interim government of Iraq. Hey, don't kill him just because he's Sunni. But he's I want to kill him. There's
don't tell him what to do. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, and as soon as you guys leave, we're going to be the government, and I'll kill him then. And then it's that guy's I don't want to make peace with this guy. You're going to kill him. And you guys are going to only stay here long enough to leave and have him kill me. So I'll kill him and I'll try and kill you. Everybody's just... It's just we're just standing in the middle of a civil war that's about to start as soon as we leave. And then what happened? We left Iraq and then a civil war happened.
That's what happened the first time we left Iraq?
Yeah, right now.
Civil war.
Yeah, Kurds took the northern part. I think the eastern part went to Sunnis. The western part went to...
That's what's going on right now?
Shias. Yeah, it's pretty much like that right now.
Are they going to just build force and invade each other? Or are they going to split up into 3 countries?
Eventually, there's a lot of people who think it's going to be 3 countries. A lot of people think it's going to be a federal, loose system. Whatever it is, they can't have one.
Or the Iranian Arab Emirates.
Maybe, but less so, because that's a bunch of just rich oil barons who live next to each other.
They're like people in Malibu. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't build a fence there, but
It's
we're all rich.
more probably going to be like India, Pakistan kind of thing. You know, like you guys have autonomy over here, we have autonomy over here, and eventually they're just their own countries.
Right.
And I think that's what's eventually going to happen. And right now, I don't think, I'm not sure, but I don't think a lot of like Sunni Iraqi troops are fighting ISIS in Shia areas. I think like each Iraqi troop is probably fighting for their own religious group in their own religious group's area. I know the Kurds are fighting for themselves up north against ISIS like crazy. I imagine the same thing. I don't think the military in Iraq is integrated where it's all these Sunnis, Shias, and Kurds all fighting side by side against ISIS. I think
There's people protecting their block.
Yeah, I think it's people protecting their block and recruiters for the Iraqi military saying, "Come join together to fight off ISIS. We'll give you these weapons if you join. You put on this patch or whatever." And I think that's about it.
In whatever town you're in.
Yeah, nobody's
like
gonna
a
leave their
local
town to go fight
like a
across
local
the
police
country.
force.
Yeah.
You're okay. You love L.A. We're gonna have
Yeah.
you stop robberies in L.A.
Yeah.
You guy from Chicago. You're gonna protect your area.
Yeah, but the Chicago's not going to come help LA.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about each other.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Then they
just
shouldn't.
protecting their own street. Yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying about people being conquered? Where it's like we went and just conquered.
Yeah,
Iraq.
nobody likes to be conquered.
Yeah.
Imagine if like, one day Canada came down and just bombed a couple government spots. The military just
surrendered.
collapsed and handed over to Canada, and they were like, "Look, we actually want good things for America. We're going to give you guys our healthcare system, which the statistics show the majority of you guys want." Blah blah blah. If they gave people what they wanted, but they also had Mounties walking up and down the streets telling people, "Hey, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that." Some people would be like, "Who the fuck are you?" You know, I wouldn't be okay with it.
And occasionally one of those Mounties would rape somebody in the town.
Yeah, exactly.
What? Why? Are they...
Why is some of our money going to Toronto? Toronto has nothing to do with here.
Yeah.
People would stand up. People wouldn't. I would be standing up not as much for like all for the kids down in Georgia and the people in the Midwest. I'd be standing up for my community here, who's being occupied. Like more so than for the abstract America. You're standing up for the people around you who are being oppressed.
Yeah.
And I think most people feel that way.
Around who are being oppressed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so your point was too that it's like once we leave, those people can get back to fighting for what they want.
Yeah. And they know that.
Who knows that? Who's they?
The people who want to fight and want to kill each other to take over territory or whatever know that if they try and fight the U.S. right now, they might lose because the U.S. has better weapons and shit. But if they just wait out the U.S.'s patience to be in this foreign country just standing there doing nothing,
Yeah.
eventually the U.S. is going to leave because they don't have the
And they get
stomach
back
to
to
stay
taking
there.
over their
and then
block.
they can get back, yeah. That's what the Taliban's doing too. They're waiting for us to leave Afghanistan. That's why
Like it was a police
Obama
shutdown.
keeps saying.
What?
He keeps saying we're going to leave Afghanistan, but then he keeps saying, but we have to leave 20,000 people in there. And it's like, why? Well, because if we don't have 20,000 people in there, the Taliban is going to take over all these areas again. It's all people living in rural areas, and we don't have the means to protect these people without having soldiers on the ground. And so it's like I think Obama doesn't want the blood on his hands. I think
He's
at
like, let
some
somebody else
point,
take him out.
At some point, some president's gonna have
The blood on his hands.
blood on his hands of U.S. soldiers leaving Afghanistan and innocent people dying and it
Well, there's
being
just
on
gonna be
cable news
slaughters.
every day.
There's gonna be slaughters.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine there wouldn't be. There's gonna be ethnic cleansing in these countries. So it's like that's why it's like really the only thing to do to stop anything like that is to have a strong UN. And have a UN that's actually believable by the world, that it's not just the U.S. acting under the guise of the UN or whatever.
Yeah.
But even that, who knows? Just kind of sad. Or not kind of sad, super sad.
What would happen if we never went in there? It would have been still a dictator, and if that dictator died, or someone else, some other dictator came
and
over.
his sons would probably have taken over, and they were, rapists and brutal people too. So I mean, Saddam killed thousands of people. His sons, they say, raped thousands of women.
Yeah.
They're all bad people.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, there's a weird difference between like killing people and like letting them kill each other. Where it's like we want to stop, but it's just not. I mean, that wars happen.
Wars happen. Borders get drawn.
Borders get drawn in blood.
And then peace eventually comes. That's the thing. Like England and all of Europe got their borders out of hundreds of years of fighting each other.
Right.
So Germany knew this is where our line is and this is where France's line is based on when the last war was and who won that territory. You know? And it took a long time and they finally drew lines. And then
once by they
East,
kept
they had
fighting
a
until
different system.
Rand McNally came, and then they're like, cool, it's set now. Here's the actual deadlines.
Yeah, this is what the atlas we've made.
Instead
so
of like slowly
you can't
moving.
change it.
Yeah, little skirmishes.
But then after the First World War, we went to the Middle East and to Africa and to other parts of the world that didn't have borders drawn because they had different systems. They had like empires that were more loosely controlled.
Yeah.
And we drew lines and said, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours. And we drew lines sometimes through ethnic groups that were aligned and suddenly they were separated.
So there's a bunch of Palestinians in Israel and
Exactly.
Jordan.
Exactly.
Where Jordan is like 2/3 Palestinian.
Exactly. We drew a line and said, this is now Israel.
Right.
and the demographic issues we'll deal with later. That's the craziest thing is how is Israel going to deal with a non-Jewish Israeli majority?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it going to be a massacre or is it going to be a transition into not being a Jewish state? You know?
Well, that's what the right of refusal was that it was, from what I understand, was that so the Jewish settlers were there, coming peacefully. In 1929, there was a big migration. 1919, and then after the war, there's another gigantic migration, leftovers, and they settled there for a while. And then 1948, they made their own country. So the 1929 immigration, there was tons of people there. My uncle was born in Israel before 1948. When he was 13, he helped like plant bombs in like British hotels.
Crazy.
Yeah, to try to get them out of there. But like the Palestinians would just like attack Jewish settlements. They would cut off their water supply and they would like, steal their cows and shit and just like, occasionally kill. They just didn't care for that ethnic group.
Right.
Just like that. It was like little tribes coming in.
And also a lot of them worked to help build
On kibbutz and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you had to protect your borders. I know people that had to like boil water every night because you didn't know if you were going to have those pipes were going to not be like fucked with overnight. So you had to have drinking water ready. And then after Israel's like, well, we got control now. All the Palestinians, oh, wait, what? Oh, we've been doing some bad shit to them because they weren't in charge.
Right.
It was the British in charge who didn't seem to give a fuck what we
Right.
did. And so like, let's just get the fuck out of here. And they just ran.
And then when they tried to come back,
Israel's like, no, you can't come back.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's
exactly.
our home. It's like, well, you would have killed. It's like, hey, maybe not.
Right.
You ran the fuck out of here. You can't come back.
And Israel's like, if we let you come back, we're not a Jewish state.
Yeah,
The
that's
numbers the numbers were just not able to. David Ben-Gurion said he's like, we can have a Jewish state on part of the land of Israel that's a democracy, or we can have a non-Jewish state on all the land of Israel that's a democracy, or we can have a Jewish state on all of the land of Israel, but it's not a democracy.
Right.
Because then everybody's not going to, we can't let all the non-Jews vote. So it's like now, post not having the right to return, and most of those people I think have died off now.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
probably in refugee camps in Jordan and it's
Well,
been
the
a long time.
Jordanians also, when they took Jerusalem, like, so Jordanians attacked, everybody attacked. Israel drove them back.
Right.
Over the Jerusalem border. They settled a line right there. And then they go, hey, well, the rest of your people that have been living here, take them back. And then Jordan was like, nah, we don't like Palestinians.
Crazy.
They're like, that's our shit. You took our shit.
Right.
We don't want. And like, what do you mean you want them back? They're not ours. Take your fucking people back. And they're like, nah, man. And so then those become like refugees, where it's like your country doesn't want you, and the new country doesn't like view you as one of theirs.
Yeah.
You really have to have an only Jewish state in a smaller part of it.
Yeah. And I mean now,
And then you never have to let
the
any
Jewish state's
non-Jews
not
in.
going to get smaller though. Right now, I feel like it's just going to turn into a system that's not Jewish majority.
It's like apartheid.
It's going to be, well, I mean, I think it could be apartheid,
It's going to have to be if they want to maintain control, right?
but I think ultimately Israelis are too westernized to have a South African style apartheid.
Yeah,
system.
you're right.
I think ultimately it's going to be like America.
Someone leave in fear, and someone would just be like, well, there's a lot of Mexicans here now.
It'll just be like America with Mexicans.
Yeah.
It'll just be Jews will be like 40-something% of the population, Muslims will be like 40-something% of the population, and Christians will be like 10.
Yeah.
And they'll just eventually they'll live. And I think ultimately it might be better.
Some laws
because
will go
I think
away.
it might turn into a one-state solution.
Oh,
You know,
right.
like
We're all
I think
just
there's
here.
no two-state solution is even possible anymore. Because for a two-state solution, you needed to have a Palestinian state that was like strong enough and legitimate enough to be able to create a state around, and
Yeah.
they didn't have that under Arafat.
What do you mean?
A Palestinian state that spoke for all the Palestinian people and could negotiate a peace with Israel and say, we've made peace, this is our state now, these are our borders,
Yeah.
and have the Palestinian people legitimately back it. That can't exist now because Yasser Arafat promised too much to the Palestinian people. And then
And he was around
Hamas
for 8 years. He was
has
around for
promised
50
even,
years.
and Hamas promised even more, saying we'll never make negotiations with them and stuff. So if Hamas makes peace with the Israelis, you still have the PLO that have to make peace. They're not a united people, the Palestinians.
Oh, right.
There's no leader.
The way
There's
the
no-
Jews, if the Israelis, the Jews, Israelis, if their leader said, this is what we're doing, they're like, fuck, we got to go with that now?
He's our leader. We have a system of government that we follow. It's rule of law.
Yeah,
in
we wouldn't do.
Israel has
Israelis
rule
would
of
be
law.
like,
Palestinians don't. Without rule of law, you can't make peace with a country.
Right.
So the only real solution that's going to happen eventually,
Incorporate them.
yeah, all of it. I think it's going to be all the land of Israel. Gaza and West Bank is going to be included. All of it's going to be one state solution. It's not going to be a Jewish state. It's not going to be a Muslim state. It's going to be some sort of pluralistic democracy. Hopefully.
And what would stop at that point the angry Muslims from like attacking? But they would just someone would attack.
The thing that would stop it would be the police and the military. I'm sure.
And then what would be eventually when they became like?
Because it's mandatory service, right? So you're going to have.
Well, when the Muslims become like 50 or 60%, what would stop them from then changing the laws to be like, guess what's illegal now? Judaism.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what
Big
the laws in
noses.
Israel are, but I bet you would. I bet the way
No
the
more
laws are
bargains.
written, even 60% of the population wouldn't be able to get something like that done because democracies are written so that it's hard to get shit done.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about before.
And it's by the intelligent. The Jews would be the intelligentsia, and they would be like,
Yeah.
"Who are you going to elect? Some fucking idiot or us?"
And I think if they really did, I think the only real possibility for peace in Israel is a one-state solution, and that would mean you would need leaders that are on the level of like Dr. King, and like Abraham Lincoln and shit to say, look, let's make peace. Let's
Yeah.
stop killing each other. Let's stop living in fear. Let's have it be once. Let's let everybody vote. And I think most people in the long run won't be Islamic fundamentalists in that situation.
Well, also,
when you
once
have
you
the
stop
choice
being
of being an Israeli or being part of
Yeah.
Hamas, you're going to choose Israeli because it's way doper.
Also, once the oppressor leaves, like you're not an oppressor, we fucking have a bunch of people in the parliamentary
Yeah.
system. Then you put your mind on other shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, Christian Palestine is so much nicer than
Really?
Muslim Palestine.
I believe it.
Christian Palestine has schools,
But you
and
know what?
hospitals, and
There's
fucking everything.
Jewish people who would go ape shit at the idea of a one-state solution that's not Jewish.
Yeah.
And there's Jewish people who are willing to kill themselves, and they killed that guy. What's his name? Benjamin.
No,
not yet.
Rabin.
Rabin. They killed Rabin. That was Israeli Jew terrorists who killed him.
Yeah.
Because he was making peace with the Arabs.
Well, same as the Egyptian president who got killed.
Sadat.
He
Yeah.
made peace with the Jews.
Yeah, exactly. So
He's
it's like
it's the best for. Same as Jon Snow,
his
who
own
made
people.
peace with the wildlings,
Yeah.
and they killed him.
Yeah. Get back to Game of Thrones.
I mean, it's all the same shit, man.
Yeah.
It's all the same shit.
Yeah, it really is.
When you just make this little city or this little, just make that a country.
Yeah.
And then that's what it is.
Yeah.
But same, you embarrassed me. I got to show you, kind of shit.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's
You know what happened in South Africa? So they had that Dr. King.
Yeah.
They had Mandela.
Yeah.
And he
And
took them into.
he forgave his oppressors.
Okay, but here's what happened though. Yeah, absolutely. He forgave his oppressors
Yeah.
because we're not gonna. And that's right. There was no slaughter. There was no slaughter of white people. But then Mandela died, and they have free elections there, and they don't have a Mandela to elect, so they elected a Zulu warrior who has 10 wives, and he thinks the cure for AIDS is washing your dick after sex, and he's their leader now. because the people that were voting for him were just workers on farms.
Right.
You know, they weren't like smart people going out to the polls.
Yeah.
And so now it's like it's in the middle of a downhill. They've elected an idiot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that sucks. I don't know. I think Israel would be in a different situation.
You just have to have a constitution that can't be changed, you know, in a certain way.
Or it's
Although
just very, like
Hitler
our
did.
constitution, it's very
Yeah.
difficult to change it.
Very, very difficult to change it.
Yeah.
You have to make it like that. And then you'll be like, nobody's going to get killed over it. These are inalienable rights no matter what.
Yeah.
And then let's go forward.
And I bet once it's a one-state solution, I bet they'll have like a federal system where there's certain states that have bigger Jewish populations that would have local control.
Like Utah.
Like
has
Utah,
3.5% beer. And then
Exactly.
non-LDS people.
Exactly.
They go.
That's a great
They
example.
go. That's fucking bullshit. I want my 6% beer. It's like, well,
Yeah, but you're in
sorry.
this. You're in this area.
Yeah.
They have their own thing. Yeah, exactly. So there might even be areas where
In Bnei Brak in
it's-
Jerusalem now, the super religious, you can't drive in those streets on Saturday.
Really?
They put up little barriers. You know how they put up barriers on that thing down Sunset,
Right.
that one street.
Oh man,
You
I
can't-
went over Passover to my favorite kebab place on Pico near Robertson. They have all these amazing kosher Persian food places.
Yeah.
And I went. They didn't have leavened bread, which is like my favorite thing to
Passover.
get because of Passover. They didn't have.
Have you
the
gone to
spice-
El Taim on Melrose?
Yeah, El Taim's great.
Yeah, that's really good.
But it's nowhere near as good as Sandak Grill.
Sendak Grill. I passed by it.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where's
on
that?
Pico. On
Pico
Pico,
and what?
and like Shenandoah around there.
What? Nobody knows Shenandoah. Why'd you make that? That's a side street. You can't
Pico
make that as
near
your reference.
Robertson.
Thank you.
Pico just east of Robertson.
No, Pico's east-west.
Pico's east west. No, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Robertson.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
east of
Just
Robertson.
east of Robertson.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Sangak Sangak Grill. Sangak.
That's Jewish area. That's Jewish homeland.
Super
That's where, like,
Jewish. Very Jewish Persian area.
Yeah. Here's the other thing.
Super good food.
The Iranians being against Jews, there are tons of Iranian Jews, right?
Yeah.
How do they live in Iran right now?
They actually live. I don't know. I haven't been like keeping up with it that much, but I know that after Muslims, Jews are like the second biggest religious group in the parliament, and I think they don't get fucked with that much.
Aren't
I know
they, like-
Baha'is get fucked with a lot. That's the religion
Baha'i?
I was raised in.
You were raised Baha'i?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's our
But
next podcast.
yeah, but they do. I feel like Baha'is get fucked with by Muslims because they're yes-anding Islam.
Yeah.
They're saying,
They're saying everything's right.
They're saying, yeah, you guys are right about Islam, but this is beyond what you know. God says this now.
Yeah.
And people don't like
That's
saying
why the
this is
fucking
on top
LDS
of
people
it.
got fucked with.
Exactly.
They're also doing that.
Christians don't like people saying, yes, Jesus, but also John Smith.
Yeah.
They're like, no, people want it to be the last one.
Yeah.
They don't, everybody, Muslims and Christians
Jews
don't
hate
seem to hate
Christians.
Jews.
Jews hated Christians in the beginning.
Right.
'Cause
Jews
it's like,
hate
wait,
Christians because they're
what?
building on it. Yeah. And Christians don't tend to hate Jews. Muslims don't tend to hate Jews in history before the Israel-Palestine thing happened because we all came from Jews. You know? Like, we're all Semitic people. We're all descendants of Abraham. All the religions came out of Judaism. So it's like Ann Coulter called Jews Christians who weren't, like, quite there yet. Or I forget. It was more offensive, but it was like unenlightened Christians. Like, they just haven't gotten all the way to where we are yet. And I think that's the thing. Like, anybody who says you're right, but there's more, they get more
They're
mad
calling you
than
dumb.
Yeah.
But you don't get mad at the people you're calling dumb. The
Yeah.
dumb people get mad at you for calling them dumb.
Exactly. and so Baha'is are like the Mormons of Iran right
So
now.
they have so Iran was just anti-Zionist more than anti-Jew.
Yeah.
They were just like, don't go there. But no, Jews are fine. But that's not going to be your
Yeah.
country, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of just racism towards Jewish people that I think came out of
That was in Europe too, Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. I don't know what the root of all that is, but there's some of it in there in Iran because the Shah before the Shah, his dad, who got kicked out and he got put into place, got kicked out because he wouldn't break ties with Hitler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a weird. I don't really understand the cultural background of it, but there's a weird tie between Germany and Iran, and there's this anti-Semitism that came with that. I think. But I don't really know the core of why that is. But as far as I know, being Jewish isn't like the worst thing in Iran, and like I think really the reason why Iran took such an anti-Israel stance was in large part out of the fear of being invaded by Arab countries and wanting to be ingratiated to those people.
So is them just saying yes too?
Yeah. And they had an opportunity because all these Arab countries started making peace with Israel. They had an opportunity to suddenly be the leader of the Arabs by being the only country to come out against Israel. Because if you notice, like there aren't any other real leaders other than like Saddam Hussein back in the day and the Iranians that would come out anti-Israel stuff. At a certain point, those Middle Eastern countries started negotiating and having peace with Israel, and Iran saw that as an opportunity to be a leader of the Arab masses. Because the Arab masses were like very disgruntled with their dictatorships that represented them, and thought that the Palestinian people were being fucked over and not having anybody speak for them. So suddenly when you have majority Sunni Arab masses looking up to a Shia Iranian dictator saying stuff against Israel, you suddenly have Sunnis looking up to a Shia dictator, and that's good for that Shia dictator, and that's good for Iran in general, to be seen as a leader of the Arab masses instead of a possible enemy for a future attack. Because you got to keep in mind that Iran's constantly been attacked by Arabs. They forced them to convert into Islam hundreds of years ago, and there's just a mentality of be ready to fight off invaders because it's just a territory that's constantly been under attack.
Because they're Persian, not Arabs.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's a different culture, different language, and stuff.
We view them all the same, mostly in America.
Yeah, America views everybody in the Middle East the same, yeah. And that was a huge part of the problem was we didn't understand going in that there's all these different groups that are that have their own beefs, and as soon as you set things into motion, their beefs are going to become the future conflicts of these countries.
Yeah, we just called it the Middle East, and since you put a label on something, it's like that's what that is there. And you're like, no. It's like saying 90s music or 80s music. It's like 80s music. Yeah, sure. It was definitely hip, like bebop type stuff, but it was also fucking dark shit too.
Yeah.
You can't just say 90s music, and you can't just say the Middle East when it's like, oh, Arabs and Persians those shouldn't be the same countries.
There's cultural differences there, and then within those cultural differences, there's religious differences, and within those religious differences, there's like local tribal differences too. And we thought that we could just go in, get rid of a dictator, and put in a system where people vote for their government and walk to the next country and put that system in too, not thinking of what the repercussions of putting this new system were going to be.
In every single place.
In every single place. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know there's going to have to be a moderate in Israel to say, let's go, one state. They're part of us now. We can't. What there will probably be if it goes that way is like a movement that's starting from like the ground, kind of like the people of Israel starting to go, guys, they're just like us, and starting to get like more flower power.
And as the demographics get closer and closer to it being a Jewish minority, I think there's going to be two different movements. There's going to be pressure from like a fascist style movement
kill them all.
Yeah. There's going to be pressure on that side. And then there's going to be a peace movement against it. It's going to say, "Hey, this makes us no better than Hitler if we actually do a genocide of the Israelis that aren't our religion." And I think David Ben Gurion, who was the first, I think, president or prime minister of Israel, I forget.
Yeah, but prime minister.
And he said, "We just have to make sure that we don't treat the Palestinians the way the Poles treated us," which I think he means like the Nazis when they took over in Poland.
Oh no, he means like the pogroms, like generations of that shit, maybe.
The Poles?
Yeah, there was always like
in Poland they'd always treated Jews bad?
They were just like pogroms. They were just occasional like mini holocausts.
Really?
Yeah.
They would like kill off a bunch of Jews every now and then?
Yeah, they claimed the big thing was matzah, matzah bread, the unleavened bread. They needed a drop of they needed non-Jewish baby blood to make it. And so everyone would get up pitchforked up,
This is just something they would make up about.
I mean, we didn't. That wasn't part of the recipe.
But they would say that was that was what the Jews needed, and they killed somebody.
Yeah,
and they would go after them.
hide some blood underneath an altar, and they'd say, "See, look what this is."
Right, a false flag operation.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you're right. and then they would like be able to not destroy a town, but like murder the rabbi and a bunch of the people in the synagogue. If everyone's in there, it could get really bad, if it was during services.
The CIA actually, Iran had a democratic government in 1953.
Yeah.
And they got elected through the parliament and everything. And the guy, his name was Prime Minister Mossadegh, and he told the Shah, "You can still stay as a figurehead the way England has a queen, but you're not going to be the head of state anymore." And he nationalized the oil fields so that the money, instead of going to Great Britain and U.S., would go to Iran. And the U.S. staged a coup in 1953. There's a great book called All the Shah's Men.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, read it. It's so fun.
He said all the oil was going to go to Iran.
Yeah, he nationalized it. So instead of it being a foreign company running it, he's like, Iran will run it and keep the profit for themselves.
And the way they kicked everybody at the kick Shell and everybody out.
Yeah.
So you get nothing now.
No, they paid them off for their stakes,
for their land,
but not as much as they would have made if they took all the oil.
Yeah.
So then the U.S. was like, oh, we got to kick this guy out. So they staged a coup and they used a false flag operation to get him out.
Some corporation.
Yeah.
That's not even the government.
It was actually, the corporation was Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which later on changed its name to British Petroleum. So British Petroleum literally fucked over Iran through staging a coup and the coast of America through the oil spill. So, but I still go to Arco to save 10 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
I'm such a
fucking credit card.
loser.
And they didn't, we would protect them because they were like, hey, because of the lobbyists and whatever who were like, you guys got to protect us.
They were like, we can't allow. Well, basically, it was during the Cold War, and they were saying this guy Mossadegh is nationalizing oil interests. He's doing socialist reforms. We don't want to let a communist get into office.
They say a bad word like communist. He goes, I'm not a communist.
And he's like, I'm not a communist. He'd say, I'm anti-communist. He'd staunchly be anti-communist. But he's like, but I think we should have our own oil. And so they staged a coup. What they did was,
like America's saying we want our own wheat.
Yeah.
And like, no, that's got to be some British company.
Canada was forcing us to take, or tea or something like that.
Yeah.
So the U.S. sent in Kermit Roosevelt, I think it's like the nephew of FDR, who was a CIA agent, and he went and hired like thugs in Iran he paid them off to carry signs that say "Up with Mossadegh, down with Islam," so that he'd piss off all the Muslims to think that he's anti-Islam, and just to go around neighborhoods breaking stuff. So then suddenly there's these mobs who've been hired to wreak havoc on behalf of the name of Mossadegh, even though he has nothing to do with it. And then they use that ground to say, Shah, send in the military to arrest Mossadegh for doing this. The Shah sent in the military. Mossadegh thought that people would stand up for him and stuff, but instead the military came in, arrested him, put him under house arrest for the rest of like his life, and put the Shah back in power. And took away the oil interest and gave it back to Anglo-Iranian Oil Company.
Whoa. We did the same shit with the Occupy movement where you send in cops to start fights, undercover cops to start fights. It's all like written, and then there's the other cops come in and are like, we got to break you guys up.
Yeah, exactly.
You're starting fights.
Exactly.
Why'd you go outside Wall Street, you assholes? That's what they said. Get the fuck down the street. This is the money. You can't fuck with our money.
Yeah.
Go fucking occupy some other shit. Occupy Lowe's Cineplex.
Yeah.
Don't occupy Wall Street. That was the head of it, right?
Yeah.
Occupy was the
Occupy
one.
Wall Street's how it all started. I thought that they just wait them out until it got cold, because it's like, how the fuck are you going to stay Occupy Wall Street in freezing New York?
Peaceful protest. And they go, no, we're not going to wait you guys out. We're going to send people in. We're going to build a.
That's the thing too. Occupy Wall Street. It's like it was
block break.
There's some cool shit about Occupy Wall Street, but the idea that there's no leaders to the movement.
Had no leader.
The idea that like
same thing with Black Lives Matter happened, where it's like you have no leaders, so you have all these people speaking on behalf of Black Lives Matter, interrupting Bernie Sanders, saying, "Speak for your crimes." He's like, "Wait, what?"
It's like, who are you talking to?
Oh.
It's like, is this really where you think your resources should be?
But then it's like, we claim Occupy Wall Street. And it's like, no, you don't. Yeah, you need a leader saying,
you need to have a leader.
We disavow. That's not one of ours. That's a crazy person.
Yeah. Somebody who can say no and yes.
Yeah.
And everybody says, this guy speaks for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So in 53, the CIA staged a coup. And that's actually why in 79, when there was another revolution in Iran, that's why they went into the U.S. Embassy and took those hostages, was because in 53, the U.S. Embassy was where they staged the coup. So they were like, I bet they're staging another coup right now. Let's get in there and get them and get all their documents and stuff. And you know, so they thought, we had a revolution once where we had...
Hey, that building over there did the first one.
Yeah.
Let's make sure
go
that
back
building
and make sure they're not... Yeah.
And people are like, no, because then the American government's like, wait, who? I just mean that building over there.
You know what's funny is you've probably met people who are Persian and people who call themselves Iranian, right? Before 1979, everybody was Iranian.
Really?
Then 79 happened and everybody became Persian.
Because it wasn't exciting anymore. It wasn't fucking cool.
It was because people didn't want to be connected to the Iran hostage crisis.
That's when my dad changed his name. We were Spitzers.
Really?
Yeah. And after the war, him and his family went to Israel. And then he became of age, you know.
They didn't want to be German?
7, 8 years later. No, him. Just he was like, it ain't a good time to have this German name. I'm changing it up. What's Shaffir? That sounds Israeli as fuck. Yeah, that's my name.
Yeah, Shaffir sounds very Middle Eastern.
Yeah. He didn't want to be Spitzer.
Yeah, I get it though.
Yeah, me too. So same shit happened with with like, oh,
but as
Persian.
a whole culture, everybody was like, it's like Chinese people saying they're Oriental. It's like they used to be like, no, I'm Iranian. And then we took those fuckers hostage, and then suddenly everybody's Persian. And I do a joke about it, how like that would be like Iraqis coming over and being like, "Oh no, I'm not Iraqi, I'm Babylonian."
yeah.
But yeah.
All right, I go to the store. You got spots tonight?
No, I might just go and see if I can get on one of those bringer shows though.
A belly room?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What day is today? Thursday?
Oh, it's Thursday. I was thinking.
The Black Show's not going to put me on their show.
Sure not, huh?
I had a development spot last week. You're going to love this.
Yeah.
I've been doing this joke about how there's certain aspects of gay sex that makes me want to throw up. Like when the guy sticks his dick down my throat, I always get a gag reflex.
Yeah. And
it's been doing good, but I knew it wouldn't do good in front of these black people.
Bravado.
Because they're black and they hate gay shit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it anyway just to say this. So I did it. They didn't laugh. And I was like, I get it. Black people don't like to play that gay shit. But the HIV statistics say that you do. So maybe more of you should start laughing because it's killing your community.
Yeah.
And they hated me so much. And they're definitely not putting me on that Black Show tonight.
That's funny. All right, where can people find you?
I'm at the Comedy Store every week, obviously. And I'm also doing Roast Battle on June 7th.
This won't nearly be out then.
Oh, no.
I mean, maybe, but I so doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm doing Roast Battle in June. I don't know, where else am I going to be? Oh, I'm going to be at at a festival in Humboldt next month.
I mean, like, where can we find you online?
Oh, my Twitter handle is at @nothormones.
Yeah.
I looked for hormones, and it was like a sex therapy person, like hormone therapy person's Twitter account. So it's not hormones on Twitter.
Because no one can say Hormoz?
Yeah, nobody can say
Hormoz.
Hormoz. And my Instagram is Hormoz Rashidi, HORMOZ RASHIDI. But I should try and change that to not hormones too. Cause
keep it one note.
Keep it one note and make it easier for
Hormoz
people to know how to spell it.
When you see what it says.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my Twitter, not hormones. And I'm at 999 Twitter followers. So hopefully I'll get over 1,000 with it.
I think by this, it'll be already over.
Yeah.
By then.
But I got over 1,000 and then went back down.
Oh, no, really?
Bots, man. Some of my bots, they join and then they leave.
That's like when some guy breaks the rushing record, the all-time rushing record at some school, and then the next play gets stopped for like a 2-yard loss. And the other guy's like, it's back in my control. For one
or
more
like
play.
when you play fantasy football and you win and then you lose because of stat correction.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess that one was only 7 yards instead of 8. All right, Hormoz.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing it.
I think we figured out how to get peace in the Middle East tonight.
Yeah, well, more peace at least. It seems like might is never the answer to force anybody to do anything.
I think violence is not the answer.
Because even if it's a good idea, what you're bringing in is like, we don't want you forcing us to do it.
Yeah.
Just like your mom. She's like, I need you. It's like, shit, would you let me fucking come do it on my own?
Yeah, it's like when people are about to fight, when you get between them, that's when the fight starts.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Just let them fight. The fight will be softer if you're not there.
Yeah. We kept stopping this fight for so long, and now it's creating bombs.
And now they've got weapons that they've been building ready for as soon as you let them go. They're going to murder
you. Ever play World of Warcraft?
No.
Or Warcraft? You can like build your own army. You have to mine a bunch of gold, then build like town halls, and then build like
whatever, like Citadel, so didn't fight off invaders. Build some orcs so you can fight off people.
Right. But
sometimes you have to fight, and they knock you back. You've wasted much. You got to build up again. But sometimes you're just I'm sick of this, and you just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and build and build. And you have dragons, you got blimps, you got airplanes, and you're like, now it's time.
Hell yeah! Back to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Dragons.
All right. Thanks, Hormoz.
Thank you.
That's the episode, you guys. Did I tell you that I'll be at the Comedy Store on Thursday? Come. It's only $10. $10 ticket. Watch me do my hour. I don't know who's opening yet. Maybe we'll get somebody. We'll get a surprise person. Come on Thursday. Get tickets. Tell some friends. I want a good crowd there, so come on out. There's still some tickets available. I guess that's it. Big congratulations to Big J Okerson on his first hour special running on Comedy Central. Way to go, buddy. Way to go. Real proud of you. Skankfest was a complete success, too, from Luis Gomez, if you were there. I don't know. Congrats. Man, I hate him. Well, whatever. All right. That's it, right? Oh, Crocodile, Tuesday in Seattle. I did the wrong word. Seattle. This Tuesday at the Crocodile. Get tickets at arithegreat.com. Also get tickets for the Comedy Store on Thursday at arithegreat.com. Also get tickets for Ari Shaffir and Friends Take Stampede on July 14th at arithegreat.com. You can get tickets for my Edinburgh show August 4th through 26th at arithegreat.com. You can get tickets for my Dublin show on August 3rd, Dublin, Ireland at arithegreat.com. And you can get tickets for... That's it. The rest of my tour is all up there. All right. Thanks, Hormoz. Thanks, everybody, for listening. By the way, did I tell you last month, most downloads of all time? And this month, on pace for it. If I record another podcast this week, which I probably won't, unless I do one in LA while I'm there, I'll probably cut close to breaking that. It'll at least be top 2. It'll at least be top 2. So thanks, you guys, for spreading the word, I guess. Telling other people about the podcast. I'm glad you guys are liking it. If you are, I'm glad you are. And thanks, Casper, for sponsoring the podcast. Casper.com/Ari. Get $50 towards any mattress. They ship it right to your door, everybody. It really is easy. They ship it right to your door. They take your old mattress out. Fucking easy peasy. Needs a fleazy. That was awful. Still got my Bonnaroo tags on. Do you? I'm going to take them off right now. It's enough. All right, you guys. Thank you very much, Hormoz. Thank you for tuning in. Until next week or the week after, I'm Ari Shaffir saying goodbye.